This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
TNA is the best wrestling in the whole world.
Oh shit! It's Vince Russo!
Oh yeah, you could be king of these mess. You know what I'm saying?
I am the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Cousin.
That's about some unadulterated bullshit.
This is BS. This sucks. I've lost my objectivity, and I don't give a damn.
Welcome everybody to You've Got to Be Kidding Me, a show where we cover TNA history 1 month at a time. This week we're talking about October 2003 in TNA. I'm Garrett Kidney. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Liam Jones. Liam, howdy.
Howdy.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho, neighborino.
How you doing over there in Australia today?
I mean, whatever, you know how it is. I had a club day at school where we got to introduce people to clubs.
What club were you introducing people to?
Student theatre and film, of course.
Were you buzz marketing the podcast?
No.
What's even the point?
Respect.
I expect you to go to person in your university, just being like, hey, so we have this club, but also, have you listened to You've Got to Be Kidding Me, a TNA history podcast?
Maybe I'll start pro wrestling club.
Do you think there'd be like enough people in the university for a pro wrestling club?
Probably. You only need 3 to have a club.
And then you can just lure them... Oh, God, only 3 people. That's literally nothing. You can lure them all in and then be like, all right, so today's pro wrestling activity that we're doing together is this link to this episode of You Got to Be Kidding Me. And we're also... There's a Patreon sign-up sheet at the door.
I could definitely run a pro wrestling club. And we could use the club funds to go to shows.
And we could use the club funds to fund the podcast.
No, I don't think I can siphon the club funds out to my own endeavors.
You see, at the very least, I think it would be extremely important for the club to have a Patreon subscription to the You've Got to Be Kidding Me Patreon, just so everybody can have access to watch-alongs and access to Ring Cat King series and access to Monday Night Wars series.
And where could they go to get that subscription service?
And access to show notes, perhaps? They could go to TNAchat.com, Liam, and then that's where these people could really get value for money in this pro wrestling
And you know what they
club.
should also do, Garrett? They should follow us as well. Where should they follow us? We're going to start doing this at the start now, like smart podcasters. It only took us 2 years.
They could go to twitter.com/TNA History Pod. You know, go and type that full URL into your browser.
That's the way to do it.
Don't go searching on apps for particular podcasts. I want you to go to your browser and type twitter.com/TNA History Pod. I think it's backslash or forward slash. I actually don't know the difference between backslash and forward slash.
It's a forward slash.
There you go. Why is it forward? I guess it's moving backwards, but it's moving upwards as well, which is kind of forwards.
But you know what is moving backwards?
What, Liam? What's moving backwards?
I was going to say Noah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say October 2003 in NWA TNA, but sure.
I know, I was going to say that, but then I was like, I don't want to go into TNA talk yet.
Well, you can get very upset about the 4 people who like Noah jumping on your quote tweets for saying Noah's bad.
No, that's you, not me.
I do love, literally, no matter what era of deep, weird Puro, you will get the same, 6 nerds who are like, no, this is good, actually.
I don't know. To be fair, I will give some credit to Noah here.
Mm-hmm.
Fujita, whatever. I'm having a mild stroke. That's what the result of the match has done. He's been pretty good in Noah. He just beats people up and drops them on the head with power bombs. I don't know. Probably wouldn't have put him over Nakajima. It's cool when he does that to, the nerds, but when he does that to, the top guy, it's like, oh.
Didn't Nakajima just win the belt?
He won it towards the end of last year, I think.
Why?
I think it was his 3rd defense or 4th defense. Yeah, it doesn't make... I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense. Nakajima, go to GLEAT.
All the good wrestlers should go to GLEAT. Kaito should go to GLEAT. Nakajima should go to GLEAT. Ashino should go to GLEAT.
Former Wrestle 1 champion, Katsuhiko Nakajima.
Could you imagine an Ashino Lindemann world title program?
Oh, in my dreams.
Can you imagine how good that would be? Instead, he's just in All Japan doing stuff. I don't know. I don't watch All Japan.
I think he's competing for the Triple Crown.
Which is more prestigious, Liam? The Triple Crown or the G-Rex Championship?
Listen, all I can say is that 100% of G-Rex title matches have been bangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you can say that about the Triple Crown.
It's true. It's a factual statement.
Do you want to review GLEAT instead of doing NWA TNA?
Well, I haven't watched GLEAT, so I can't. But
fake fan.
I'm still 2 GLEATs behind, so I think I'll do a catch-up today after I edit this podcast.
I watched it live. I was fist pumping in the air. I was pacing.
And I feel like GLEAT is the spiritual promotion of TNA, the spiritual Japanese promotion, because it is the spiritual successor in some ways, I think, to Wrestle One. It's filling the Wrestle One space in the Japanese wrestling market. So Wrestle One partners with TNA, so we have to support GLEAT.
Sure. I think, honestly, GLEAT has a lot more potential than Wrestle One ever had, unfortunately.
It has former TNA star Kazuma Sakamoto. It has former TNA star Minoru Tanaka.
It is former TNA star Quiet Storm.
Ah, yes, of course.
Is that it?
I think so. There's probably someone else there that was in TNA at one stage or another.
Kikutaro ever work a TNA shot?
Former TNA star Kikutaro.
There we go.
So there's a lot of TNA connections here in GLEAT, so it makes perfect sense to spend 5 minutes of a podcast about TNA history opening about GLEAT.
I wonder how many people listening to this know of GLEAT.
Listen, I think we've brought up GLEAT, and you've spent entire watch-alongs watching GLEAT enough that I think we brute-forced a certain audience into knowing what GLEAT is.
GLEATcast coming to the Patreon soon.
Alright, anything else before we talk about NWA TNA for the month?
I think we're just gonna go all in.
Alright, this month sucked.
Alright, we're just gonna barge straight in like that, huh?
We're just gonna rip the band-aid off the month that is October 2003, because I think it's interesting to talk about as a whole that, like, this month was boring as shit.
Yeah, not the most explosive month.
It's not even just like, oh, this angle is terrible. It's not even that, like, this story sucks. It's not even like, oh, they're pushing the wrong people. It's none of that. It's just like, this company in the month of October feels lifeless.
It's incredibly dull.
There's just no energy. The crowds are absolutely dead. It feels like all the programs have overstayed their welcome because most of them are just holdovers from the month prior. It feels like nothing new or interesting is happening. The entire month is built around Hulk Hogan and nothing comes of it, which we'll talk about extensively. So it just feels like a lost month in TNA history with a bunch of matches that, like, some of which are good. Especially, like, as the month goes on, there are more good matches. I think the first 2 shows of the month in particular are just absolutely lifeless muck that will put you to sleep. But then it's just a month that exists and has literally nothing that I think anybody will remember about. Like, what are you gonna? Maybe the AJ Dusty match. Maybe that's a thing people are like. Oh, AJ Dusty was a cool match just on paper, even though the match itself wasn't great. But other than that, there's literally nothing from this month that I think I will ever think about again once we hit end record on this podcast.
The most notable thing of this month was something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most memorable thing of this month is probably the thing that happened in the last 30 seconds of the last show of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just... I hesitate to call it, for some reason, I hesitate to call it even bad. I just don't think anything happened. It was just dull. It was a very boring show. I don't even think there was anything that I was like, oh, this is bad. I don't think there was any, like, angles that I was like, oh, gosh, not this sucks. Well, I think it was just nothing to latch onto, nothing to care about. Yeah, just a real boring month. I remember that first show. I watched an hour of it, and it took me 3 hours to watch that hour. Because I just had to pause it and do something else. Because I was like, this is so dull. For those first 2 episodes, I think I drank like 2 beers an episode because I was just like, come on, this is so boring.
You need something to get it through, make it a little more palatable.
Yeah, I had to get in the spirit of the Nashville, of the Asylum watchers. I had to drink some beers to get through the show. The last 2 shows, though, I didn't mind as much. It was just those first 2 were so bad. And that third one wasn't great either, to be honest. But if the last 2 shows were the bad shows of a month, you'd probably had a pretty good month. But they were the best shows of the month.
Yeah, and this is a 5-show month, which maybe didn't help, because there was
I
5
hate it
shows of
so
nothing
much.
happening.
I hate it so much.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that November is a 4-show month, and December would have been a 5-show month, but the last 2 episodes are best of, so it's only a 3-show month.
Merry Christmas.
That's your Christmas present, that you only have 3 shows for December to cover, unless you want to watch the best ofs.
And no. I mean, to be honest, how long can those best ofs be? How many 3-star Jerry Lynn matches can you put on there?
Well, not that many this month. There's only one of them.
Yeah, is Jerry gone?
Well, it's the Don Callis stuff, which is, you say there's nothing on the show that you don't like. I'm tired of the Don Callis and Red Shirt stuff. I would like them to go away, but they're not going to, so I will just have to stomach that.
I don't mind the Don Callis stuff. I was kind of sick of the red shirt matches by the end of it, but I didn't mind the actual Don Callis angles. He had a cool bow tie now.
He does. He's looking very dapper.
He cut the hair though, which I don't appreciate.
Big change for Don this month.
Big change. He looks like a child now.
He does. He has this like childlike glee expression, particularly when we'll talk about the world title change this month. By the way, this month had a world title change.
He also, yeah, well, I think he literally has rosy cheeks. Like that, he's straight up like, what's that creepy puppet? Remember that?
The one from Goosebumps?
Sure. And I think any puppet could have filled the void that I was putting out there, to be honest, except for Puppet the Psycho Dwarf.
Chucky?
Yeah, sure. He looks like Chucky.
Kermit the Frog.
It's a Muppet. It's different.
Muppets are also puppets, but not all puppets are Muppets.
You're a Muppet.
Am I a man, or am I a Muppet?
No, we'll get DMCA.
If I'm a
Muppet, I guess
I'm a
we should
Muppet.
talk about Arthur.
Oh, Arthur did come to an end. Yeah, it's very important. It is the theme song to our old podcast and the theme song to the Monday War Game series, which you can listen to at patreon.com/kiddingme or
Two
TNAchat.com.
of our old podcasts were Arthur inspired.
Yeah, so Arthur has come to an end. Arthur is like a millennial washout based on his appearance, so...
Yeah, he's a graphic novel artist.
He's clearly the guy who's like, no, Mom, I'm a graphic novel artist. It's like, Arthur, you've got to get yourself a job. You've sold none of those graphic novels.
Arthur, get a real job like your sister.
Who's a traffic cop. Of course she is.
So that was definitely like, they wanted to make her a cop, but they didn't feel like they could get away with making her like a cop, so they made her a traffic cop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this was their cop out of like, oh, we want to make her a cop
out,
but yeah. Like we want to make her a cop, but it's 2022 and that won't go down well.
Yeah.
So we'll make her a traffic cop.
Are you actually a fan of Arthur?
Yeah, obviously.
Because I don't think I would have watched a ton of Arthur growing up. I would have watched little bits and pieces of Arthur, but not a ton.
I watched a fair bit of Arthur growing up.
Yeah, Arthur has come to an end. Rip Arthur after 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, longer than 25 years. It was 25
You know, it's
seasons.
the second piece of Arthur news we've broken on the show.
Well, I don't think we've broken it. It happened like 2 days ago, but sure.
But you know what I mean? It was the second piece of Arthur news that we talked about as it happened.
What's the other one?
When they made the teacher gay.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Arthur.
We talked about the outrage
Yeah, go fuck yourselves, people.
from the Arthur community.
I don't think it was from the Arthur community, frankly.
It's from people who have never seen a single episode of Arthur in their life.
It's like the Noah fans mad at me.
Except you're the one who's never seen a day of Noah in his life.
Yeah. Hey, I watched some of the January 1st show. You leave me alone.
You watched it because I made you.
You bullied me into watching a Noah.
I did. See, I tried, guys.
See, Liam brought it back to Puro. He can't help himself. It's like he wanted to talk about Arthur and then had to misdirect back to Puro.
Yeah, well, just let me talk about Bureau. For the love of God, someone.
But to go back to TNA, like, we had July was a pretty flat month, but it was flat for, like, an understandable reason, where they did that pivot from the kind of wrestling they were doing to a more babyface heel standard traditional pro wrestling in July. So you're like, all right, we'll give you the month to kind of work that out. And then we had, like, 2, I think, pretty darn good months in September and August. And now we're just here, and I don't know what happened. They just ran out of steam. They ran out of life. There is just nothing going on. And we do have new booker/agent Dutch Mantel, so obviously it's all Dutch's fault.
I think it probably just came from, we had a very distinct plan, and we had to get to this plan very quickly, and then the plan fell through. So it's like, we were in a rush mode to get to this, and then we didn't even get the payoff to this, so it's just a very weird, kind of tumultuous middle ground month.
We might as well also pull the Band-Aid off on that, because I think there's going to be a substantial portion of this podcast devoted to it, unfortunately. Hulk Hogan, as we mentioned last episode. No, you should be doing the red, white, and blue. But Hulk Hogan and NWA TNA have agreed to terms, and the final paperwork is being worked through this week. This was in the first week of the month. The deal isn't done. Very, very important
They said it was
sentence.
done on the show.
Very, extremely important sentence, Liam. The deal isn't done, but it's expected to be done. Everything's great and looks like it'll definitely happen, says one insider close to negotiations. The agreement would call for Hogan to be a big part of the TNA product, beginning with a special November 30th Sunday night 3-hour pay-per-view priced at $29.95. The proposed match is Hogan versus Jarrett, perhaps for the NWA title. Jarrett has a scheduled title match against AJ Styles on the October 22nd pay-per-view. Hogan is headed to Japan this week for a match on October 13th against Masa Chono. He'll be in Japan for 4 days and then return to the US. Hogan is looking to redeem his status after leaving WWE under less than glorious circumstances when the Mr. America gimmick was halted in mid-course after creative and financial differences with him and Vince McMahon. So Hogan is looking for his new place to live after the WWE dumped him out, or perhaps he's actually just looking to go back to WWE and he's using all of this for leverage. But no, we won't remember mention that at all. No. But TNA are now firmly, in the month of October 2003, Liam, in the Hulk Hogan business.
I mean, at least they think they are. I mean, should we talk about... Okay, let's talk about the mindset of TNA going into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in their position and you think you can get the deal done, you gotta do it, right?
I guess, like, unlike, I think, 2010, when Hogan does actually come in, I don't think there's anything to lose here for 2003 NWA TNA. It's not like they have a firm established identity. It's not like they have like anything really going for them at this stage. They are literally desperate for attention. So unlike they kind of threw out the identity of the company to bring Hogan in and like give him all the power in the world in 2010, there's nothing to throw out here. We talked about how they had a couple good months coming off of that reboot in July, but realistically, like, who cares if you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater to get a Hogan and Jarrett match, which is kind of what they do. But yeah, you do kind of have to do it, don't you?
You got to give it a shot. So yeah, you can't really blame them for giving it a shot. You can probably blame them for starting to book it before they had it in writing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, that probably happens all the time, right?
Yeah, and we even talked about how, like, remember when Sting first came in? Like, literally during the show is when they got Sting to sign the deal, and they literally announced him there and then, like, at the end of the show, and they only made that deal during the pay-per-view. So it's not the first time TNA has been, like, down to the wire or willing to announce things that have just happened or may tenuously happen. So...
Yeah, but at least this thing was in writing.
And Sting did actually show up.
I can't blame them for going for it. Hogan winning the NWA title probably would have been some big news for them too, and cool from cool from a historical point of view.
The deal on the table right now would include Hogan being part of more than just the Sunday, November 30th pay-per-view, which, by the way, they do announce. They announce on the weekly pay-per-views that Bound for Glory will be November 30th, their first ever Sunday 3-hour pay-per-view. They promote it for 2 weeks before they cancel it. However, Hogan is conscious of image and doesn't want his first match back to be at the Nashville Fairgrounds, where TNA tapes every week. We'll talk about that a little as well, because there's a lot of back and forth about where this show would actually take place in terms of where they'd actually run the show. That could create the image he's on the downswing of his career, said one involved insider. The arena is small and the fans may be less apt to cheer him, since fans that attend each week at the same arena are typically more hardcore and rebellious. There's some back and forth on people who like or hate Hogan, because obviously there's a lot of Hogan related segments this month. So there are Hogan chants, and there are like we want Hogan chants at one stage, and there are also a counter chant of no we don't.
There's definitely some anti-Hogan sentiment in the asylum.
Which is not the first time there's anti-Hogan sentiment in the building where Hulk Hogan's making his TNA appearances.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the other times it was like pretty pro-Hogan, and then he turned it around on himself, so...
Well, even before Hogan debuted, we'll get to this at the end of 2009, but during like the last two pay-per-views of 2009, there are chants of who needs Hogan. Like the crowd don't really want Hogan, and like Hogan packed the Impact Zone with his like sycophants and diehard fans for his debut in the first couple of weeks, which is the reason he got big reactions, because they're all like the Bubba the Love Sponge squad coming out for Hulk Hogan in those first 3 weeks of TNA.
A little off topic here, but I just showed my housemate the footage of Mick Foley knocking out Bubba the Love Sponge.
Ah, very good.
And popped huge. Truly a tremendous piece of footage that everyone should go check out.
It is a very important moment in TNA history of Mick Foley shoot punching Bubba the Love Sponge in the face while he forearms him.
But I was going to say, he actually elbows him in the face.
Yeah, he gave him a black eye. He actually elbowed him in the face. He sunk that bad boy in.
Broke his nose, apparently.
Good, he deserves it for being an absolute turd.
But yeah, just a little sidebar there at the Bubba the Love Sponge, who got mentioned in this month of shows too.
Because where Hogan goes, so does Bubba during this year, anyway.
During the next decade.
The motivation for TNA beyond their cut of the potential revenue created if a Hogan versus Jarrett match drew a big buy rate on pay-per-view would be to put their brand name on the map nationally. Having Hogan's name attached to the TNA logo would give the promotion a legitimate credibility with people who don't follow wrestling closely, but are instrumental in TNA getting outside deals.
The mythical
done.
Casual fan.
And to be fair, if you're 2003 TNA and anybody is going to attract the casual fan, it is a Hulk Hogan.
But to be fair, I don't think you're going to get the casual fan as much as people who just knew wrestling.
Well, again, I don't want to do my casual fan rant. The whole casual fan doesn't exist, and the people that people are actually talking about when talking about casual fans are usually lapsed fans.
It's the casual wrestling fan. People who know about wrestling, but don't keep up with it in the modern era.
It's not a dude who usually watches basketball. Suddenly we're going to become a huge wrestling fan. At best, he'll watch the clip. But yeah, the idea is that they want to break beyond their 8 to 16,000 pay-per-view buy bubble into a broader audience. And I think that the bigger consideration here is that Hogan will lend them legitimacy and credibility in pursuing a TV deal.
I was going to say with sponsors and TV more than anything.
So they can go to TV partners and be like, look, we have Hulk Hogan for however long we have Hulk Hogan. And that might actually sway people in terms of like give them a shot on TV, which is a thing they obviously can't do and want to do because they've like even at this stage, like months ago, they've given up more or less on the weekly pay-per-view model being the future of this company. They know it's not going to sustain the company, but it's a matter of just producing enough content and hanging on long enough to get a TV deal. And the hope is that Hogan would be the guy that would help them get the TV deal.
I think that's completely fair.
So Jimmy Hart has a close personal relationship with Jerry Jarrett for decades. I think Jerry Jarrett was the person actually who gave Jimmy Hart his original break back in I think the late 70s. So it's actually fun that there's multiple people who are like, oh, we're going to work TNA. Sting was another one because it's like, oh well, Jerry gave me my break, so I might as well try and help him out here.
Good thing that we're going to get that guy out of the company as soon as possible. The guy that everyone likes and wants to repay their debt to.
Yeah, the guy who has deep relationships with so many stars because he gave them their original break, and now they're big stars and can potentially pay it forward. But now we want to back Vince Russo so he can get Disco. Vince Russo brings Disco, Liam. But who would you want? Hogan and Sting or the Disco Inferno?
Well, you've swayed me.
I've convinced you, have I?
Yeah, the Disco, obviously.
So the whole idea of doing Jarrett and Hogan, is obviously aside from Jarrett being TNA's like A1 star, is to play off of the Bash at the Beach 2000 finish, where there was that we mentioned on the last episode, that famous worked shoot where they did a Jarrett laying down for Hogan, and then Russo ruined it by cutting a shoot promo on Hogan. Again, we'll talk about Russo extensively on this episode as well, but it's interesting that they're building it off of that match, that Bash at the Beach 2000 match, which I don't think anybody cared about at the time. The company involved went out of business, and they're like, listen, we got to call back to this Bash at the Beach match where we did this work shoot angle and never got to pay it off, so we'll pay it off in TNA.
I had no clue what the fuck they were talking about.
I wonder the same, because like this is over, like not over, yeah, it is over 3 years. It's over 3 years since that Bash at the Beach match. So Like, they're basing this entire thing, and they can't say Bash at the Beach, so they have to say in Florida. So when you're watching the show and Jimmy Hart and Mike Tenay are like, oh, do you mean what happened down in Florida? And Jeff Jarrett freaks out, which happens twice this month. Like, the average viewer, I think, is going to be the same as you. They're going to be like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
I had no clue what they're talking about. I thought it was like some backstage thing. I was like, is this like some... Because that's like with the gravitas they gave it. I thought it was like some sort of backstage, like commonly known interaction or something, altercation.
Because, yeah, it's that classic pro wrestling problem where they assume, especially in this era, where they assume that the internet fans know everything, so they actually book the television show around them.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to think about, that like the internet fans are constantly derided by these people, but then especially during this Vince Russo era of late WCW, early TNA, they book their entire show around what not even what the internet know, what they think the internet knows, and their actual casual audience, which is the thing everyone always goes on about, the casual fan, probably has no goddamn idea what these human beings are talking about.
This is a move hoping to attract casual fans, and it's like, that's reference some niche shit that half of them won't remember, and even if they would have remembered it, we can't give them the details to trigger that memory.
And even if they did remember it, they probably didn't like it in the first place.
And if they remembered it, they probably don't care that much either.
I don't think everyone was gagging it to be like, oh, we never got the payoff of that Jarrett and Hogan angle from WCW.
Yeah. I don't know, that's a weird one.
It is kind of classic TNA. Like, they can't just tell their own Hulk Hogan story. They have to be like, oh, we have to go back to the WCW one because that's unresolved territory. Everyone wants the resolution to that story between Jarrett and Hogan and what went down at Bash at the Beach. So we have to finish out that story instead of just having him come in to beat up our heel champion.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
The Jarrett and Hogan have talked extensively on the phone and had face-to-face meetings over the past month. Both sides are said to be excited about the possibilities of a relationship.
Me too.
So there is a whole like cavalcade of things that happened this month. We have 4 pages of notes in the show notes at tnachat.com talking about just this Hulk Hogan story. Not even like talking about the stuff that happened on the TV show about this Hulk Hogan story. Just the stuff that built to this Hulk Hogan story.
Yeah. But to be fair, as far as actual Hogan on TV stuff, there isn't much to talk about.
But like they do bring in Jimmy Hart, and they do continue to build the last 2 episodes around Jarrett and Jimmy Hart, even though they know at that stage that the Hogan thing at least is not happening for now.
To be fair, I think the last show they tried to turn it into more of a Jimmy Hart versus Jeff Jarrett thing than a Hulk Hogan versus Jeff Jarrett thing.
Listen, who's a bigger star, Jimmy or Hulk?
I mean, Jimmy has an album.
It's true, he does, and he has made many good theme songs.
How many theme songs has Hulk Hogan made?
So there is a bunch of talk about where this show is actually going to take place. The frontrunner is Las Vegas, according to one source. The TNA officials have been talking to representatives of the Aladdin Hotel. There's also the Orleans in Vegas. There's the Municipal Auditorium comes up, which is where TNA held some of their early shows, where AEW held Dynamite last week. The Mid-South Coliseum.
Yeah.
So all these venues are bandied about, with the big thing, I think, the big key being Hulk Hogan does not want to wrestle in the Asylum, in a building with 1,300 people.
Do you think Hulk Hogan would have eventually wrestled in the Asylum had he signed?
Well, if he was there long term, he would have had to, right?
Do they go for a bigger building every time they build to a Hogan match?
I guess it depends how often Hogan would be wrestling.
And is he just going to be on the show every week not wrestling?
Because we'll talk about like what his commitments to TNA for this match would have been in a sec, where he would have only done 1 live appearance in the Asylum. He would have done a phone call as well. And then they would have built to them doing that match in another bigger building. Probably, I'd imagine if it went through, it probably would have been like the Municipal Auditorium somewhere in Nashville. Because I think some of that is what spooked Hogan, that like venue stuff. And like at one stage, it's like the front runner was the Asylum, and I don't think in a million years he's walking out to wrestle in front of that 1,300 people building.
Do you think they could have got that original building that they ran for the first show?
Oh, gone down to Huntsville?
Yeah.
I see it would have been somewhere in the South, because the big problem with Vegas is they didn't have a promoter's license in Vegas, and obviously all of this came together very fast, and they announced the pay-per-view very fast, and they wanted to get to Jarrett and Hogan within 2 months basically of signing Hogan, but they couldn't promote in Vegas because they didn't have a promoter's license, and that's the main reason they started looking elsewhere.
just imagining Hogan in the asylum, in this terrible, terrible building.
It's probably not the first time he's worked the building. Maybe it is.
It's probably the first time he's worked that building.
You got the red, white. Maybe it'll be like, because famously WCW, there's the story about how like Center Stage was this old rundown building until Hogan signed with WCW, and they actually like started painting the building and putting up curtains and making it look decent when Hogan signed. So maybe it would have been like that, or it's like the asylum is this.
No,
old
they already did
building.
that. They already did the big renovations.
It's still an old rundown building.
Yeah, but like, I don't think they were going to get much more out of it, to be honest.
They could have put up some curtains.
Oh, wow.
Add an extra lighting rig or two.
If they do all that, then they won't be able to throw people off of it anymore.
That's true. Slash would have like half his moveset removed.
And who are you going to pick, Slash or Hogan?
I'd pick Slash every time.
What if Hogan had to join the new church?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm more excited for the prospect of the franchise and Hulk Hogan building up a big feud together.
I do like the idea that, like, James Mitchell, this whole month builds the Raven getting his hands on James Mitchell. Raven's about to get his hands on James Mitchell while Hulk Hogan shows up to stop him.
Yeah, the red, white, and blue.
I don't think that theme would quite work as well as the new church, but well, sure.
What if it's James Mitchell singing that theme?
Oh god, that would rule, because James Mitchell does do karaoke, that's his thing.
He also sang the new church theme.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah, he sings the new church theme.
You sure about that?
That is true.
That doesn't sound like James Mitchell.
Take you under. Yeah, that's him.
I'm not sure about that.
That is him.
I did quite like there was a jazzier version of the new church theme for Vampiro this month. It was very good. It's much more upbeat. It's very weird.
Sorry, Angel Salazar says in the comments of this new church video, I'm imagined to Finn Balor and Seth Rollins join to the new church. If Father James Mitchell go to WWE every day, I'm imagined to entrance this song.
But the Sinister Minister jumps and starts a new church with Finn Balor and Seth Rollins.
Sorry, there's a lot of things that just happened here. Where Jake Dandy 3 years ago tweeted R.I.P. Jim Mitchell, and then someone said he's still alive. To which Jake Dandy responded, "Nope, that was Taz."
Oh, well, James Mitchell did get killed off on Impact at one stage. Maybe he was talking about that.
To which he responded, "That's impossible. Abyss shot him."
No, he survived the shot. He did get killed by Havoc on Impact, but then Rosemary resurrected him so that he could officiate the wedding in which Johnny Bravo got shot, but Johnny Bravo didn't die.
That is definitely Jim Mitchell singing that song, by the way.
I don't believe you. Let's throw it out to our fans of You've Got to Be Kidding Me. Let us know on Twitter whether you think that's actually James Mitchell singing the New Church theme. I don't think it is.
100%.
So the latest word on the pay-per-view site is the Nashville Auditorium. Although TNA officials are still hoping to run an event in Las Vegas, there is unlikely to be enough time to obtain a promoter's license and promote the arena properly. Hogan's side is banking on the idea that TNA will do a major advertising campaign, and on their side they will attempt to call in some favours and use celebrity friends of Hogan's to appear live with George Foreman's name being bandied about. George Foreman actually gets a name dropped on the show this month, where Jimmy Hart is mentioning Hogan's agent and mentions other clients of Hogan's agent, including George Foreman. An attempt to get placed on mainstream talk shows the week of the event, where Hulk Hogan will no doubt do appearances and not mention TNA at all, which is the perfect Hulk Hogan standard in 2010, which I assume he would have established here in 2003.
Sorry, I was just trying to find out the Jim Mitchell
We're moving on from the James Mitchell theme song.
Jim Mitchell gate, I had to find out.
We have thrown it to our audience. They can be the arbitrators of whether or not that is James Mitchell.
Not the audience.
We have moved on. Hulk Hogan.
But we're still talking about Hulk Hogan.
There is still like 4 pages of Hulk Hogan notes, so you calm down.
All right.
We have plenty to get through in this Hulk Hogan section of the show without you derailing us more with James Mitchell theme songs, your imaginary James Mitchell theme songs.
Okay.
This is like people who think Big Show does the well at the start of his theme song.
Except mine's true.
TNA has zero national mainstream ink, and the belief is that the Jarretts feel Hogan is the one wrestler who can get them some interest from the millions of currently disgruntled fans, most of whom don't know TNA exists. So it's once again, Liam, the play for the lapsed WCW fan.
I mean, I guess at this point it's still worth going for it.
So as mentioned, Hogan has basically set up to do a phone call on the October 22nd show, for which he would appear live for the first time on the October 29th show, and then they would build to the November 30th pay-per-view. So they would have one live appearance in the Asylum, where they would shoot their angle, and then they would get ready basically to do everything for the 30th. Bound for Glory, Liam.
Huh, I'm familiar.
Which is fun that they kept that name for their biggest show, even though it didn't happen here in 2003.
Listen, you gotta admire TNA's commitment.
They like the name.
Yeah, like, if they ever think of something, they stick to it. And they will go for it. Like, we saw it with Genesis already.
They will dig out all of these names and ideas no matter how long has passed.
And I imagine if there was like some sort of folio with just all these old ideas in it.
Mm.
They had Robbie E's name circled in it, and they just blew off the dust one day and were like, this is it.
Bro! The word in the locker room is that Hogan has refused to appear on the same show as Vince Russo and doesn't even want Vince Russo in the same arena as him.
Okay, maybe Hogan's good.
There's also been talk that the legal issues between the two men will also prevent Russo from appearing. However, there is at least suspicion in the TNA locker room that this is all a work set up by TNA officials to make it seem like a bigger deal when Russo and Hogan take part in the same storyline.
I mean, can you blame any of them for thinking this?
Because Vince Russo is written out of TV this month. There's an angle that takes him off TV, which everyone, again, assumes is because of this story that Hogan doesn't want Russo there.
It has to be true, right?
And then there are even, like, rumblings around that, like, Russo's not even writing the show anymore, which Dave Meltzer debunks. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I was going to say, I can debunk that by what happens on the last episode of the month.
By actually watching it, being like, oh no, there's a first blood chair and a pole match. I wonder who's goddamn writing this show.
I think I literally said while watching it, oh, Vince Russo's back booking.
So even then, they were trying to do like, oh, Russo's out. He's not at the show. What's happening with Vince Russo? So I do think they're laying the seeds for a Hogan Russo worked shoot.
Great, that'll do numbers.
Dutchman Talent Scott D'Amore held a meeting with the wrestlers prior to the Wednesday, October 15th pay-per-view, basically doing like a rah-rah, build them up, pay-per-view's coming, Hogan's coming, everything. TNA is a rocket ship ready to explode, as Jeff Jarrett loves to say.
Fuck you, they're wrong, you're right. I want to see Scott D'Amore do the Paulie speech.
He's probably done a few of them in his life.
I want the exact same one, though.
Do you think every GCW show starts with a Paulie speech?
Well, if you listen to @GCW Truther, I don't think there's any rah-rah speeches anymore.
No, I listen to @GCW Truther.
I listen to @GCW Truther.
You might think this is a joke. All of these exist, by the way.
It's just funny because they started calling each other by their shoot names.
They even dropped the pretense of why even start burners. Oh dear, so they're trying to get everyone on board, everyone excited about this new Hulk Hogan era of TNA.
I thought you were going to say about this new Circle 6 promotion.
It's actually funny, like, again, there are so many parallels to 2009 when Hogan comes in. Like, Dixie Carter does the same thing, except she put it on television.
Yeah.
The very famous Dixie Carter segment where she's like, if you're not behind me... Sorry, Liam, go.
If you're not behind me... then you can get out.
Yep.
Follow me on Twitter.
Where Dixie did her big promo where she's like, if you don't agree with my decisions, there's the door. And Hogan's coming in and this company is going good places.
If you don't agree with me, there is the door. I think the Dixie's getting better.
I think it's getting worse, but it's getting better as it gets worse.
I think she's getting sassier. And I appreciate it. I've really captured the Dixie sass. I've got heel Dixie.
Well, that's the only Dixie, really, isn't there? Is there a babyface Dixie?
Yeah, I got Dixieland Dixie.
So there are multiple players coming in for Hogan, one of which is TNA, one of which is Murad Muhammad, who wants to start a 2-hour wrestling boxing combined TV show based around Hogan. And then the third one, of course, is New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I thought you were going to talk about celebrity wrestling.
No, that doesn't happen for years.
I watched episodes of that.
I watched every episode of Celebrity Wrestling with Dustin Diamond. How did you not know who Screech was then?
I only watched like one episode.
You freaking... Didn't Screech win that show?
I don't know. Maybe we should watch that. Maybe that should be our next Patreon series.
If I can find it, we'll dig it out.
Sorry, I was going to say the New Japan stuff is actually interesting. I got to admit, I'm pretty compelled to watch a 20-minute Hulk Hogan Masahiro Chono match.
It's not even the main event, but I'm sure it's probably pretty good.
I kind of want to... Because like Hogan always worked hard in Japan.
Yeah, well, he did like 2 more moves, but yes.
Yeah, but that's like him working hard. He was like bouncing around. You ever see like those earlier stuff that he did? He's like bouncing around and taking big bumps.
Yeah, so New Japan are also making a play for Hogan. They want him to be involved regularly, so he had this Chono match he was meant to do January 4th as well. They also offered him the book, so...
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm imagining Hogan doing a G1.
I'm imagining Hogan booking New Japan.
Just WCW. I can't believe they offered him the book.
Yeah, there's a story about how like they want Hogan to be involved in New Japan long term, so they offered him booking power. And even when he went over for that match against Chono introduced him as like a booking consultant.
Wow, that's insane.
They want the Hulkster, brother. Everyone wants the Hulkster.
I'm just imagining like Hogan booking like the IWGP Junior Tag undercard stuff.
What do you think Hogan thinks of Liger?
I think he respects Liger.
Do you think Hogan knows who, like, Yuji Nagata is?
No. I think his knowledge base ends at, like, early 90s New Japan.
Even though Nagata worked a bunch of WCW?
Yeah, but, like, he didn't watch any of that.
He's not watching these undercard matches with these Japanese imports.
He's not watching Thunder.
And he just has to listen to Days of Thunder instead, where he can hear all about the Yuji Nagata matches. You see, well, Lee mentioned us on the most recent episode of Days of Thunder, so I have to return the favor and mention Days of Thunder, where you can listen to in the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
Did Yuji Nagata even work Thunder?
Yeah, Yuji Nagata would have worked Thunder.
WCW Thunder, January 29th, 1998. Yuji Nagata versus Goldberg.
Yeah, dream match.
I'm watching that after we finish this.
It's probably like surprisingly good.
I'm putting it in the watch later.
I assume that Nagata does some leg kicks and then Goldberg spears him.
Probably. Oh, I skipped ahead, and Goldberg seems to have some sort of ankle lock on Yuji Nagata, so I think they're working shoot style, brother.
Hell yeah. So if you want an idea of who's going to be on this November 30th show, if it actually happens, Sting was approached for about appearing, but he didn't seem particularly interesting. He had signed a 4-match deal, but hadn't entirely been returning TNA's calls lately, but we will get to Sting in the course of this month. Jarrett had tentative plans for a Christopher Daniels Neil Skipper against AMW match as a rematch of one of the best bouts in company history. Which
is something we had seen the beginnings of play out on TV this month.
And something that also went absolutely nowhere. Where Daniels does the tease that he needs his brothers, and then like 4 weeks go by and nothing happens. As well as Tiger Mask versus Hoovy, if Hoovy can solve his visa problems, and then...
You're notoriously your least favorite wrestler of all time, Tiger Mask.
I do not like Tiger Mask 4. Give up the gimmick, dude. Go try and stand on your own 2 feet.
You want him to give it up at like 55?
Yes. I want him even more so to give up the gimmick at 55 and eventually be like, I am my own man. No one would probably make him GHC heavyweight champ.
Maybe. At 51 years old, you're like, alright, time to be Yoshihiro Yamazaki.
Yeah, time to be your own man.
He's teaming with Robbie Eagles. Okay, yeah, you know how we were talking about Sasuke?
Mm-hmm.
On the watch-along?
Were we?
Yeah,
Oh, as a Ninja Warrior, not the great Sasuke, okay.
Outside of wrestling, Yamazaki appeared on the second Sasuke competition in 1998.
Oh, good for him.
Although he failed to make it past the first obstacle.
First obstacle? Oh, that's very bad.
Sorry, I'm getting spoiled about 2007 TNA on Tiger Mask's Wikipedia.
Yeah, he shows up in 2007 and 2008.
Wow, I'm excited. Is that why you don't like him? Because he shit the bed in those matches or something?
No, he was actually pretty fine in those matches.
No, it's almost like he's actually pretty okay.
So after all of this, after all the negotiations with TNA, after all the putting together cards, after all of the scouting venues, after all of that, Hulk Hogan pulls out of Bound for Glory. NWA TNA officials decided to postpone the November 30th Bound for Glory pay-per-view after Hulk Hogan's decision to have his knee scoped. As announced on the October 22nd show, TNA is planning to reschedule the event, with most sources predicting it will take place in January or February. Spoilers! It doesn't.
They should have done it January 4th.
Well, Hogan was meant to work the Dome, and he doesn't do that either, so...
That's so funny. Oh, God, this is so funny. Imagine being the guy who's like, I don't want to work this show so badly that I'm going to go get surgery.
I do think it is very much the case that Hulk Hogan was using all of this as leverage to go back to WWE. WWE didn't bite, so he's like, fuck it, I'm getting knee surgery. I also think there's a bit of Hogan who thought him against Jarrett and TNA wouldn't do a number. And Hogan is fiercely protective of all of that. He is fiercely protective of his ability to pop a rating to protect his own value in the wrestling market. And I think he thought that if he did in fact show up in TNA, if he did do the match, even if he became NWA champion, it probably wouldn't pop like a huge rating. It probably wouldn't do a huge attendance. So that would decrease his value for WWE and perhaps potential outside projects starting up. So I think that's another factor that Hogan's like, I kind of don't want to do it because I think it'll affect my aura.
They should have done Hogan Raven.
That would have been the match. The postponement may give TNA enough time to make arrangements so that they can hold the show in Vegas, although the Nashville Auditorium had been discussed as a potential venue. Hogan wanted the show to take place in Tampa. They know not because he lives close to Tampa and it would be easy to travel there, but because he thinks he could draw there.
I mean, he's probably right.
Because that's where the Bubba the Love Sponge show would have the largest market penetration, so he could get a bunch of stuff done.
Oh, that's such an easy joke there, but I'm not going to do it.
Using the word penetration in relation to Hulk Hogan and Bubba the Love Sponge?
It's too easy. I'm not going to do it.
I'm teeing you up too well, is what you're saying.
Yeah, not this time.
The theory is that Hogan was not crazy about the idea of working a major pay-per-view event on such short notice and wanted to make sure that there would be enough time to promote the event.
That's it.
Properly.
That's what I believe that to be the case.
Enough. What I find quite a funny note, given the week before they did the big rah-rah speech, November 30th pay-per-view, Hogan's coming in. There was no formal announcement to the locker room from anyone in TNA management regarding the pay-per-view postponement. Word spread throughout the locker room of Hogan's injury via the internet, but there were some wrestlers who felt that a meeting to discuss the situation was needed, which frankly I would agree with.
I mean, yes, but they can't go back on the rah-rah speech now. Like, Paulie does the fuck you, and then it's like, next week, like, hey guys, we were wrong. They were right.
We have to calamitously backtrack here, so we're going to do it as quietly as we can.
Yeah, we're going to let people find out at home, so maybe they don't want to talk about it.
So we went all in on this Hulk Hogan guy. This guy's coming in, he's doing a big match with Jeff Jarrett. We're going to do our first 3-hour pay-per-view. It's Bound for Glory. It's going to be this big, huge event. We're going to hype you up. We're going to start promoting it on TV. We're going to change the champion. We're going to turn our top babyface heel. We're going to turn our top heel babyface. All to get ourselves ready for this big Hogan match. Oh, no, Hogan's not coming anymore. Never mind, guys. We're just going to go on. No, everything we do.
I don't think in their big rah-rah speech they were talking about how they had to hotshot the booking.
We had to throw everything we were building to out the window to turn Jarrett heel and turn Styles face.
To be fair, Jarrett probably should have been heel the whole time. Naito should have been face the whole time. So,
According to those close to Hogan, he tweaked his knee in the Chono match and he will be undergoing surgery on October 31st.
I'm watching that match and I'm going to be looking at his knee the entire time.
There's a theory from Dave Meltzer, but that we'll talk about in a second. According to those close to Hogan, he had never signed a TNA contract to do the pay-per-view. This puts the company in a position where it has to publicly explain the postponement of the show, which they kind of do. We'll talk about that when we get to the actual creative of the show, when we talk about broad topics. But they try to a little. At this point, Hogan is still scheduled to work the January 4th Tokyo Dome show and has verbally agreed to do a match with Jeff Jarrett in February. Jimmy Hart was going through with his scheduled appearance on the October 22nd show, where he was going to explain Hogan's injury and possibly the new date. They didn't announce any new date, just that the match would happen sometime in the future.
I think they should have just gone through with it.
Gone through with what?
Just do a big-ass pay-per-view.
Oh, just without Hogan?
Yeah, just do Bound for Glory, see if you can get Sting into work in his place. You don't have to do it in, such a big arena, but, they should have just done Bound for Glory.
Well, we do have a few Sting matches coming up for the rest of the year, so do you think they could have just pivoted to doing Sting and Jarrett?
Yeah, I think you just do Sting Jarrett. Maybe you say you postpone it and give it, an extra month of build or whatever. But yeah, I think you just run Sting Jarrett.
You think that would actually draw?
Sting Jarrett, you do your AMW rematch, and that frees up AJ for a big match.
Potentially X match against Michael Shane.
Yeah, that's the big match.
Well, we'll talk about where AJ's going in a minute as well.
No. But you know what I mean? I just think they should have committed to it and ran the show. With, maybe some less high expectations. Maybe just rebrand one of the monthly ones into a Bound for Glory or something. Sorry, one of the weekly ones into a Bound for Glory.
And then, you could probably just still run it from the Asylum then. It's fine to run that show from the Asylum.
Or even if you want to make it a big deal and run it from a slightly bigger building, I don't know. I just feel like you should have committed to it at this point, and that backing out of it completely is worse than just backing out of the Hogan situation.
Especially given like how they did go all in on, like they announced it and they started building to it and they showed all the footage from the angle in Japan that we'll talk about where Jeff Jarrett attacked Hulk Hogan in Japan. We'll talk about all that when we were going through the actual shows. Like they were all in on this already on TV, and then just the next week Jimmy Hart comes out. It's like, sorry guys, it's not happening. Sorry.
And like Sting's a big enough replacement.
Mm.
Yeah, they should have just committed and done Bound for Glory, I think.
Another question many are asking is regarding Hogan's right knee injury. Hogan has a history of bad knees, and anyone who has watched him wrestle over the last many years can see the knees have given him more problems than any other body part. This is from the Wrestling Observer.
Alright, Dave.
Dave is like, look at this man's shoddy knees.
I love Dave's like bitchiness in his writing. It's very fun.
And I love that he is like the premier writer in the genre, and he's just like throwing in sassy jabs.
I was listening to some Between the Sheets stuff, and he was talking about the Big Egg Show, and it was really funny when like Dave would review like the FMW stuff, and he'd be like, "Oh, this girl was like 5'2", oh, like how small," and then like when it comes to the 4'11" All Japan Women's girl, he doesn't bring it up at all. It's like he knows where his bread's buttered.
Those who have socialized with Hogan note that he moves very slowly when the cameras are off because of knee damage. He had an artificial knee put in a few years back and has had several knee surgeries in recent years. Hogan has also worked for years on bad knees, and this is only one match. Jimmy Hart told TNA officials that Hogan wanted to make sure he was 100% and not limp through the match, as if Hogan's athletic ability was in question here.
Do you think Jimmy felt like shit for having to do this for Hulk? Or do you think he's like, I'll take it on the chin, I'll do my best to make something come out of this?
I think when you look at the angle Jimmy does when he shows up, and he gets the absolute shit kicked out of him by Jeff Jarrett.
You think that's like a make good?
I think that's a make good, where the dude is willing to get himself whipped to shreds just to be like, listen, Hulk's not showing up. And let's be real, I think we all probably know he's never showing up, so you can beat the shit out of me instead.
What a good pal.
What a nice guy.
I mean, and let's be fair, I'm sure Hulk was like his meal ticket for a lot of years, so probably has some sort of responsibility there.
And he's basically his promoter. He's not his agent, but yeah, he's basically his promoter.
I miss managers that were like shoot managers for people.
Whether, back to a moment of sassy Dave, whether his knees are healthy or not, his match quality isn't going to change appreciably. And however the crowd is going to react to him would be the same way either way. It was also noted that Hogan could have suffered a minor injury in the match with Chono and not realized it in the heat of the match. It could not have been that serious because he appeared at a New Japan company meeting the next day, walking around the same as he did before the Chono match. Reporters also noticed he was not limping when he went home. The story given was that the knee started swelling up days later and he went to get it checked. And when the test came back on October 21st, they immediately contacted TNA and asked to get the show delayed.
It was the altitude from the plane ride. Flared it up.
Just messed with his knees.
I believe it. Who am I to say that Hulk Hogan's lying?
You don't think Hulk Hogan is a man of low moral fiber?
I think that Hulk Hogan guy, pretty upfront about his feelings.
He's on the up and up. He's a good guy. The tentative plans for the Hogan-Jarrett match are now either February 8th or February 15th for the show, with Tampa or Las Vegas at this point being the major cities under consideration.
I'm excited for that match.
Well, you will never get it.
No.
You know what? When Hogan debuts in TNA in 2010 and he buries the absolute living shit out of Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, what the fuck, Hulk?
They never call back to this.
Jarrett, well, they probably didn't want to, like, actually piss off Hogan.
But I would have thought, like, the whole thing about this is the Bash at the Beach 2000 stuff. Jeff Jarrett attacks Hogan in Japan. It would have been the easiest story in the world to go, you know, last time I was flirting with TNA, you came to Japan and beat the shit out of me. That's the reason I'm burying you now for no reason whatsoever.
Well, you see, Garrett, that may reflect poorly on Hulk Hogan, and that's not okay.
And Jarrett's like, well, you didn't show up at all.
Yeah, so, like, if it was to reflect poorly on Jeff Jarrett, I think it would be fine. But on Hulkster, I don't think that's going to fly.
They were not about to announce the actual new date for Bound for Glory until they find out how long the recovery time for Hogan will be. Hogan ended up having arthroscopic surgery on October 31st. He has not committed to the Tokyo Dome show at New Japan, but will make a decision based on healing in the next 2 weeks. And when he gets the timetable, the pay-per-view will be officially rescheduled.
I'm sure you would have just worked like some sort of tag with Chono, right?
Yeah, probably, where he could do very little. He doesn't do anything. That Shono match was his last New Japan match, I believe.
Trust me, I know. I looked up the schedule immediately after finding out he worked New Japan in 2003.
In front of a crowd of either 37, 47, or 55,000, depending on which number you believe.
Or like 23,000.
Well, the number Dave has was 37.
Or like 23,000.
So that is more or less an hour on the Hulk Hogan flirting with TNA.
Thank God we now don't have to talk about it in the shows at all.
Yeah, there's no Hulk Hogan involvement at all in the actual shows that we'd have to also talk about.
We're gonna speed round the actual shows because the news is way more interesting than the Sonny Siaki and ECMO wrestled a tag match this month.
Listen, very excited to talk about Sonny Siaki and ECMO against Shark Boy and Mad Mikey.
I'm sure you are.
You've Got to Be Kidding Me is brought to you this week by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm-fresh produce that arrives within a week, so you get convenience without skimping on quality. Skip the trip to the grocery store, saving you that wait in long lines and ensuring you don't waste money on excess food. Don't forget dessert. Satisfy your sweet tooth with seasonal limited time goodies like Dunkaroos cookie dough or Vanilla Delight cheesecake. You know, we can all get caught in a rut of eating the same things over and over just out of habit and reliability, and HelloFresh helps kind of break that loop, giving you new and fresh and interesting things to eat. So go to hellofresh.com/VOW16 and use the code VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's hellofresh.com/VOW16 using the code VOW16. There's a few more news notes this month. Jarrett is still very much involved in TNA's power structure, although he may not have an official title. Wrestlers say Jeff Jarrett uses his father as a sounding board on all major decisions, booking and otherwise.
Yeah. Good for Jerry. Still getting in there, still swinging.
Yeah, he hasn't been cut out yet.
I was worried that he was gone, to be honest.
Jerry still sits at the gorilla position at every show and watches the matches on a monitor with Jeff. Jerry also makes himself available to talk with the wrestlers. One wrestler Jerry spends a lot of time with is Raven, who tells other wrestlers he learns a lot from spending 10 to 15 minutes per week with the elder Jarrett.
Oh god, to be a fly on the wall for the Raven Jerry Jarrett conversations.
Just having a nice little chat for 20 minutes every week.
Talking about some wrestling.
Get some historical knowledge from old Jerry.
Yeah, I think that would have been. I bet some great information for the wrestling business came out of that.
And there's a reason Raven is the top babyface in the company. He's learned all these important lessons from Jerry Jarrett.
Yes, that's the Jarrett relationship that's helping that.
Definitely. Dutch Mantel's early role in TNA appears to be that of more of an agent than a booker. Russo and Glenn Gilberti.
There you go. You take back all your slander of Dutch Mantel.
This changes through the month. Russo and Gilberti have continued to write the shows, and Mantel has been placed in charge of working out finishes for the matches Russo and Gilberti format.
Imagine being the guy who's like, your job is to make sense of Gilberti and Russo's booking.
And these are two people who famously deal well with change and criticism. There was more Dutch Mantel influence on the show this past week, and his influence should grow to where he's largely in full control within a few weeks. The October 15th show is said to be the last show with Russo and Gilberti writing This Does Change. The original draft, which, again, this is the worked shoot stuff where you see stuff like this come out, and then the next week it's like, Dave is like, no, actually, Russo being gone is a work, and he actually wrote the show, but they're still changing the show, and Russo's mad that they're changing the show, and there's all this, power struggle still going on, and people are mad at each other that their creative ideas aren't getting through onto the show. But Mantel is gaining power, Russo is losing power, is probably the broader thing to take away from this month.
If that's throughout the month, then we actually have to give Dutch credit, because the last 3 of the shows were actually way better than the first 2, so...
That is true. Way better is a subjective term, though, as you mentioned.
Yeah, but way better, I mean, from a 2 to a 5.
It's like when you put the bar somewhere in the middle of the Earth's core, it's quite easy to clear it.
Yeah, and then they're it hits, the crust.
Someday we'll reach the surface, Liam. Someday.
I don't know if that's true.
So yeah, there's this whole thing this month about Russo being in or out, or is he working in secret again because of all the Hogan stuff doesn't want him there. And then there's the question of like, well, is that a work? And we're back to Vince Russo working.
I think the safe bet is always yes.
Yeah, we're back to the Vince Russo. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Is he working for the company? Is he not working for the company? Is he writing the show? Is he not writing the show?
At least, like, from our perspective, all of this work shoot bullshit is backstage and not on the screen.
Yeah, for the most part, it's gone off the actual TV show, except weird stuff about health insurance.
Oh yeah, that is a weird one.
Apparently, Dixie still wants Russo in the mix. Jarrett and Russo have different visions of wrestling and constantly butt heads.
That'll be the next 10 years.
Dixie constantly going back to Vinny Roo is a reoccurring theme that we will cover very, very, very often.
Fox back TV.
The working agreement between TNA and AAA is very close to being final. Paco Alonso of BMLL didn't seem to make any kind of serious effort to head it off. And even though he controls most of the best wrestlers in Mexico, Antonio Pena was more persistent.
Alright, well, I mean, hey, you go after the one that actually won show.
Well, Antonio Pena was actually on the TV show this month, so...
Yeah, he showed up.
It's actually fun. There's a bunch of notes in the Wrestling Observer about like whether or not EMLL will actually make a play for TNA and like the back and forth between those companies. And obviously TNA are kind of getting into the bed with New Japan this month, where they have the angle,
the Forbidden Door,
the original Forbidden Door opening here in the NWA TNA, where Jeff Jarrett jumps to New Japan to do the angle with Hogan. And there's like questions of questions of whether or not EML will want to work with TNA because of that, and whether or not that'll affect whether or not AAA will work with TNA. It's like, oh, look at Mexican wrestling politics bleeding out into this working agreement with TNA.
Well, like, I don't know. I don't know enough about Mexican wrestling politics to even talk about it, I guess.
Don Callis was one of 29 students that graduated with MBAs from Asper Business College at the University of Manitoba on October 22nd. So, well done to Mr. MBA Don Callis here in October 2003.
He did it.
Callis, when ECW and WCW went down in 2001, started studying for his MBA because he never wanted to be left in a position where he didn't have good career options outside of wrestling.
This is like one of those dudes where it's like, you wish that he never got out of the business.
And he was gone for a long time.
So I just noticed that like my mic had been making this noise for like 30 minutes. And I couldn't, for the life of me, work out how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suddenly just, like, knocked it slightly, and it has fixed it.
Good. I'm excited to fix that in post.
I'm sorry, I was trying to work out how to fix it the whole time.
You and your goddamn microphone.
This mic is broken, Garrett.
My heart is broken.
Alright, we need, like, 300 more Patreons so I can buy a good mic.
You can get a decent microphone for, like, $50.
Ooh, la-di-da, look at me, I have $50 lying around.
I do.
Yeah, well, I don't.
So congratulations to Don Callis in 2003 on getting his MBA.
Congratulations to me for working out how to fix my mic.
So that is the news notes for October 2003, which is pretty much entirely Hulk Hogan, brother.
I mean, the most important note was Callis getting his MBA, but everything else was pretty neat too.
Sure.
That was the highlight of the show. Hope you enjoyed it.
What, Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan is the highlight of our show, Liam? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Have you seen what the rest of this is going to be on?
So I was doing the show notes where I was just typing out literally what happened on all of these shows. And like even then I was bored.
You just reminded me that I wrote notes for these shows.
You should probably break them out so you could remember what happened.
Yeah, look at me. I promised everyone on the last show that I would write notes for the first time.
So Liam will actually have memories of things, so the person on YouTube won't get mad at him for saying I have no thoughts about the War Games match.
Now, to be fair, they didn't get mad at me. They just said it wasn't a very good bit, which, to be fair, they were right. But if they only listened to the video, they didn't get the great payoff of the pizza, so... Which was, like, our best, like, reacted to bit we've ever done.
Have you ordered a pizza during this show?
No, I got work early tomorrow. I have sore tummy if I get a pizza this late.
That is very pragmatic of you.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, broad topics for the month. Let's start with the world title scene, in which we were continuing the where last month left off, building to a world title match between the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and the phenomenal AJ Styles.
And honestly, a match that I'm glad happened just for historical value.
Yeah, it's one of those cool TNA things where it's just like you're going through the TNA history, like looking at the matches that happen on these shows, and you're like, oh shit, an AJ Styles Dusty Rhodes World Title match?
Yeah, like, never watch it, but just be glad that it happened.
So NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64 is built around AJ Styles and Vince Russo facing Jeff Jarrett and Dusty Rhodes in the main event. That's October 1st, 2003. There's a show-running angle where Russo doesn't want the match to happen, so he's like talking to Jeff Jarrett. He's trying to talk Jeff Jarrett out of doing the match. He's trying to make his one final plea to his friend Jeff Jarrett after this year.
I was going to say, this was a big return to, like, the sexual chemistry of these two performers. Every time they're together, you just kiss.
But Jeff keeps turning him down, Liam.
I know, that's why they're star-crossed lovers. It'll never happen. And it's their own prejudices that are stopping them from experiencing true love. Bringing it back. It's a sad story. You just wish they could get on the same page.
Sure do. So...
Imagine a heel stable that Jeff and Russo are both in.
No, I don't want to.
That's the dream.
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to have that
Jeff,
thought process.
Gilberti, Russo.
No. I guess Siaki would have to be there because he's in all of their stables, just hanging around.
Yeah, but like barely a part of it.
Trinity's there too, I guess.
Sure.
So yeah, we had the show running angle on October 1st where Russo told AJ, this match isn't going to happen. I'm gonna make amends with Jarrett finally. And then he tries to make amends with Jarrett, and Jarrett's like, just go fuck yourself.
Jarrett's like, no. What the fuck?
We have literally been at each other's throats for a full calendar year now. So, no.
I like that Russo was like, he was confident that this would be the time it would work.
Yeah.
He's like, I believe that we can get this done. Like, you know, we've done all this stuff, but this is the time I can get through to him.
But he did not. He failed.
It's a shame.
Which brings us to our main event of that show. Jeff Jarrett and Dusty Rhodes faced Vince Russo and AJ Styles.
Listen, I know I wrote notes.
Mm-hmm.
I did not write any notes for this match.
Dusty did a brainbuster in this match, Liam.
Yeah, not intentionally.
He still did a brainbuster.
That's fair. That is fair.
He very much did take AJ up for a delayed vertical suplex and then brought him down into a brainbuster kind of by accident, but he still did a brainbuster.
To me, the match was kind of nothing. The Styles got his ass slapped again. That was fun.
Yeah, like the story of the match is like continuing to build tension between Jarrett and Dusty. So Jarrett hits the top rope stroke, Dusty spanks AJ's butt and pins him, and they're all happy. Jarrett's not mad that he stole the pin. But then after the match, AJ's like all flustered and mad, and he's like, I'll give you any match you want. Do you want a Texas bullwhip match?
A Texas
a Texas pig eating contest?
I do want that, by the way.
It's very fun. I love that promo just because AJ very clearly couldn't think of anything Texas related.
Like, so much of this show is written. Did they not write Styles promos for him?
So he's like trying to improvise some kind of Texas related stipulation, but he cannot think of any. So he like blusters and flusters and mumbles for a little bit and then comes out with like a bullwhip match and a pig eating match.
Well, lucky he doesn't say anything else. Knowing AJ's history with getting flustered and shouting things.
He did not shout any slurs. That's good.
This is kind of evident of like the whole story this whole month, which is like AJ and Russo splitting up and Jarrett and Dusty splitting up, both at the same time. Because afterwards, we get I thought it was the thing that saved that AJ promo was when he slapped the taste out of Russo's mouth.
Yeah, because he's offering Dusty any match he wants, and Russo's like, no, don't do it, because the same thing happened the last show was last month, where AJ's like, I want to face Dusty, and Russo talked him out of it. He talked him down that time.
Talked him into the tag match.
Yeah, so this time, Russo's like, oh, he's trying to talk him down again, but AJ's like, no, I'm my own man, you don't tell me what to do, and he slaps Vince Russo, and Russo's like,
I like this, like, little bit of an unhinged AJ here. I thought it was really good.
All you have to do, Liam, is spank his bottom, and he will go mental.
I'm sure that is true.
Give AJ a little spanky poo, maybe with horsey poo. Add horsey poo, spank his bottom with horsey poo.
He would not have got the points for that, though, because he would not have liked it.
No, he would have lost points in the Duff Cup. He would have not enjoyed horsey poo. So yeah, AJ's all flustered and fired up saying, Dusty, you can have any match you want. And Dusty's like, any match you say? Oh, I could have a Texas Bull Rope match. I could have a Bunkhouse Brawl. Or, perhaps, I could have an NWA World Heavyweight Title match.
Yeah, it's a good shout there. It's like, you offered me any match. Yeah, all right, I'll take a title match.
So Styles is like, you're on, let's do it. And then Jeff Jarrett is pissed because earlier in this show it was announced that Jeff Jarrett would face AJ Styles for the world title on the October 22nd pay-per-view. So Jarrett has his title shot, and he is not pleased, Liam, that Dusty Rhodes is jumping the line and getting a title shot before him.
I'd be pretty pleased. And like, either Dusty's gonna like weaken up AJ, or I'm gonna fight Dusty.
And would you think you'd have a better chance against Dusty, Liam?
I think I would have a better chance against Dusty, yes.
Over AJ Styles.
Andrew probably fucked me up.
You could probably just smack AJ's bottom and then he'll lose his cool and then you could beat him.
Oh, I would love to have, like, to stand and throw hands with Dusty Rhodes in my life. Even if I got the shit, like fucking kicked out of me at the same time, I would have been like, yeah, let's go. I'm into this.
That would be very much one you would do just to have the story.
Yeah, I'd be smiling the whole time.
Just getting your ass kicked by the American Dream, baby. As he's cutting a promo on you as he's kicking your ass.
Oh, that's the dream. I don't care. Like, he can hit me with, like, shoot punches and then hit a worked elbow and I'll still bump.
So that sets up AJ Styles against the American Dream Dusty Rhodes for NWA TNA pay-per-view number 65, October 8th. Jeff Jarrett opens that show coming out and he talks about how Dusty is selfish. Dusty's out for himself. Dusty is jumping the line. He's a typical icon, just like Savage and Hogan and Piper and all these people who he name drops multiple times this month, I think, just to get Hogan's name in there in a way that seems moderately organic as opposed to just mentioning Hogan for no reason whatsoever. And Dusty comes out and he stands on the ramp and he's like, no, you can't talk. I'm not letting you respond to me. I have things to say.
I love this, actually. And every time Dusty would go to say something, he'd cut him off with it. And it was so good. And then Dusty just, like, didn't even get a word in and, like, Jarrett leaves. And Dusty just looks, like, despondent from it.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm not even going to say anything because the segment just ends. Like, as you mentioned, Jarrett's like, the best thing I can do tonight is leave the building. So, and I will face, whether it's you or AJ that walks out of that match, I'll see you on October 22nd, but I'm out of here. And yeah, Dusty just kind of stands there kind of flabbergasted. He's shell-shocked.
This is a good angle. Just an interesting note from me watching this show. Interesting choice to seemingly have Jarrett and Styles double turn ahead of their title match. Oh, Liam of a week ago, you hardly knew.
I wonder why they suddenly put that into movement.
But yeah, I really liked this segment. I thought this segment was really good. It's funny, like, there's a lot of cool segments on these shows, but the wrestling just really let it down.
So today has a sit-down interview with Dusty where they talk about his history with the NWA title and how that title means so much to him. And it's just your standard Dusty Rhodes promo where he's like, oh, this is the history and tradition is so important to me. And it works every time because he's Dusty Rhodes.
I could listen to Dusty talk about the territories all day.
He's like the opposite of Piper in that even when Dusty talks about nothing, he's interesting, whereas Piper always talks about nothing and he's not interesting at all.
But you know what it is? He adds like this gravitas to history, and it makes you feel like how important it was. It's really brilliant. If there was a podcast back in the day where Dusty and Rob Naylor were just talking about territories, I tell you what, I would have slapped down. I would have paid the Patreon money for that.
Because, yeah, Dusty's talking about how important it was to him, that he won the belt that Jack Briscoe or Luthez had, and how that established him in wrestling, and now this, you know, he maybe has one more last run in him. Maybe AJ's taking him a little lightly. And I do love how he turns it around on Jarrett. It's like, if the positions were reversed last week and I had the world title match on October 22nd and Jarrett had a chance to take a title match on the 8th, he'd take it every day of the week. And he's like, yes, you're right, he would.
And I like, how in this promo he's like, maybe I am a little selfish. Maybe I am a little cocky. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm allowed to be, bitch. I'm Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the American Dream. I can do whatever the hell I want.
And it's like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You can.
You are the American Dream. There was a slightly more unfortunate show running angle through this one, which was Vince Russo.
Listen, I thought it was good.
So, Russo is not there at the start of the show. Styles is worried. He's there backstage with Siaki, Trinity, and ECMO, and they can't get in touch with Russo, and Trinity's like, oh no, he's going to come, it's fine. And then later in the show, right before the world title match, a drunk Vince Russo arrives.
Yeah. And a drunk Vince Russo arrives looking exactly like me.
Oh, that's how you look all the time?
Just hair everywhere, beanie half on, jacket half on. Just straight up Liam fit right here.
He's like, hey Jay, don't you worry, bro. Everything's gonna be. He's Rick from Rick and Morty.
No, he's Morty from Rick and Morty.
He's both. He's Rick and Morty combined into one.
Yeah, Rick Vince Russo talking to Morty AJ Styles about wrestling Dusty Rhodes.
So yeah, he shows up drunk, and he's at ringside drunk for the world title match between the phenomenal AJ Styles and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes for the NWA World Title, in which Styles retains after Dusty Rhodes passed out in the figure 4 and AJ beat him by pinfall.
Dusty bleeds like a maniac in this. It looks like he's been shot in the goddamn eye at one point.
This like the crowds are pretty dead for all of October. Like for a crowd that was actually pretty hot for a few months there, they completely lose interest in TNA this month. And this is the match where I'm most sad like the crowd weren't into it. Like because a big match where Dusty's in the world title match and the crowd are living and dying on Dusty. And I think there's two things that maybe distract from them being invested in Dusty, and that is...
Well, there's one big thing that distracts them.
The first is the fact that Jarrett is getting the title match October 22nd, so most people probably don't think Dusty is winning.
Yeah, I think going into this, not many people thought Dusty had a chance here. But, like, I guess that's what the opening segment at the start of the show was meant to be. It was like, if it is Dusty Jarrett, like, at least there'll be something to it.
And then the other thing, of course, is Vince Russo playing drunk at ringside, just taking all of the steam away from the match. It's all about Vinny Roo.
I remember being so worried that Vince Russo was going to ruin this by making it all about him.
He did.
They kept, like, cutting back to Russo, like, very early on in the match, and I'm just like, stop it! I'm trying to watch Dusty Rhodes and AJ Styles.
It actually made me mad. That, like, you have Dusty Rhodes against AJ Styles. Like, I think calling it a dream match is probably a step too far because of this isn't Dusty in his prime. But it's like a really cool intergenerational match. And you decide to make this whole goddamn match between one of the best up-and-coming wrestlers in wrestling in 2003 against one of the most iconic wrestlers in the history of wrestling. You decide to make the whole thing about drunk Vince Russo. Like, the only person who can make that choice is Vince Russo. I can't imagine, like, everybody in that building, everyone else in this company is like, yes, this is what this match should be about. It should be about Vince Russo spiraling out of control instead of a really cool, intergenerational world title match as two generations collide. And we have this cool moment for Dusty challenging for the NWA title. And, like, Dusty comes out in his... fair enough, he did it the week before as well, but it's cooler here for the title match. Where he comes out in his trunks and the boots and he's in his old school wrestling gear and he looks like the Dusty Rhodes of old, and he actually shows up for this match, and they make it about Vince goddamn Russo.
There was a very funny moment to me in this match where they were brawling out on the outside, and Dusty like laid AJ out, and then just sat down for a straight minute. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, take a fucking breath, son.
Because he's already bleeding at that stage, and they're brawling into the crowd, and he's just like, I'm just gonna chill out here for a minute.
You know what this had the energy of? Vince Russo showing up drunk to his son's recital. He's like, you got this, man. I'm so happy for you. But, like, to go back to the earlier points about the booking and stuff, it's like, do you really think Dutch Mantell was like, you know what, we gotta get this Dusty Rhodes AJ Styles match and make it all about Vince Russo?
No, I don't think he would have. Do you think Jarrett or D'Amore or... Like, the only person making this about Vince Russo could possibly come from is Vince Russo.
Glenn Gilberti.
Disco and Vince Russo.
Yeah. There was one drunk Russo spot in here that I really liked. And it was a really great spot where Russo goes to help Styles leverage the figure four, but falls down like a drunk asshole. So AJ just does it himself and wins without Russo's help.
Yeah.
I like AJ still won as a heel, but he did it with his own heel shit and didn't rely on his dad.
Yeah, Dusty did get a visual submission over AJ in the figure four, but the ref was distracted.
Yeah, all in all, I didn't hate this match, but I didn't love it either.
I did like Mike Tenay and Don West were very good. I did enjoy Mike Tenay explaining the history of Dusty's figure four and how that these are the big matches he's won with the figure four, and this is why this is a big move, and he's locked it in, and he's gonna beat AJ with the move. It really does help when you have somebody like Tenay who legitimately knows wrestling history. He doesn't have to fake it. He doesn't have to recite a Wikipedia page like I think you see a lot of announcers do. It's like, oh, I read these facts off Wikipedia. Whereas like Mike Tenay lives pro wrestling history. So when he gets somebody like Dusty in there in this kind of match, he can really add to the call with adding the historical context of Dusty challenging for this belt and the moves he uses. And I think that's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to weird, subtle heel Don West this month.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice. I didn't really notice it that much, to be honest, but then you told me about it, I was like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Like, he's doing a thing where the week before, he's like rooting for Russo, he's like seeing Russo's point of view, he's seeing Don Callis' point of view, so it's clearly like a little edict. It's like, Side with the heels a little more often, Don, please.
Yeah, the same Don West who was up and screaming on top of the announce table when Amazing Red was getting his big win. But it's like, yeah, we need you to be a little heelish.
Yeah, the same Don West who's like, defining trait is his utter wholesomeness. It's like, no.
Well, alright. I think you overplayed Don West's wholesomeness at points. My man was still horny as fuck in some of those early shows.
Wholesomely horny.
No, there was definitely no wholesomeness to that horniness.
They do seem to drop the Don West stuff by the end of the month, but yeah, the first couple shows of the month, there is some very, like, yeah, he does it often enough that it's noticeable, that it's like, oh, he's leaning toward the heels now, isn't he?
Yeah.
For reasons passing comprehension. So after the match, Styles and Co. attack Dusty. Security tried to stop them. Russo is the one that cuts off security.
Russo rules, I'm sorry.
There's a much bigger Russo ass-kicking segment on the next show, which we'll talk about.
I never want to see him, like, book anything, but I really don't mind him as a character on the show.
Do you like his taste in ice hockey jerseys?
Yeah, actually, I thought it was pretty cool.
Can you name the 2 teams he wore jerseys of this month?
No, I did notice... Okay, I remember that the beanie had, like, a buffalo on it.
Oh, I didn't even notice the beanie.
Oh, I only noticed that whatever beanie he wore while he was drunk had a buffalo on it.
Mm.
I couldn't name you any of the teams. I don't know any teams. I know that the jersey that he wore in the second one was like a blue and black and white number that I thought was pretty cool looking, but I couldn't tell you the team.
He wore a New Jersey Devils jersey.
Makes sense.
Then he wore a Grizzlies jersey.
Ah.
So there you go.
I don't know either of these teams.
Not a big fan of the New Jersey Devils?
No.
Is the only hockey team you know the Calgary Hitmen?
No, I know the Blackhawks?
Sure. Chicago.
That's the thing, right? Yeah, Chicago. Who's John's team? They always talk about it and are very upset.
Kings, isn't it?
Yeah, Kings.
LA Kings.
And there's the one that's really big in Las Vegas because like it was like the first sport they got.
The Ducks. They're not in Vegas.
It's like the Knights or something, right? Golden Knights, Golden something.
Golden Knights is basketball.
Is it?
No, those Golden Warriors.
Yeah, that's Golden Warriors.
American
I'm pretty sure
sports.
it's Golden Knights. Oh, Vegas Golden Knights, ice hockey team. Fuck you.
I've been to one hockey game. It was the Houston Aeros against the Iowa Chops. It wasn't even NHL. It was the division below that is called.
Hey, Garrett.
Uh-huh.
The Golden Knights just lost to the Kings. Shout out. Woo.
Oh, good for them.
And then they beat the Sharks 4-1.
Very much invested in these NHL results.
Now they're facing the Coyotes.
I did watch like 5 minutes of the Olympic hockey during the Winter Olympics. Shout out to Finland who won it.
I was going to ask how you did in the Winter Olympics.
We don't have Winter Olympics. We don't do winter sports in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Australia and we still competed.
We don't have winter sports in this country.
Did you not even compete, you cowards?
No, we had a couple where we had people sent over, but like we have no open house, so we pay no attention to it whatsoever.
I want to see how we did. USA. There you go, Great Britain, that's you, right?
I will fight you.
Come on, you won the women's curling. Come on, I knew we won something. We won 1 gold, and I was like, wow.
What was it, Dan?
We won 19 Winter Olympic gold medals total. We got a bronze in snowboarding, hell yeah. We got 2 silvers, 1 in the skeleton and 1 in the snowboarding. And we won freestyle skiing.
Good for you.
Be jealous.
Big fan of women's freestyle skiing.
I am when Jakara Anthony takes the gold.
I thought you said Chikara Anthony there. I was like, is she named after the wrestling company?
Yeah, good work.
Well done to Australia's Winter Olympic team.
Yeah, we got 4 medals. 4 more than Ireland.
So yeah, Styles and his pals attacked Dusty. AMW tried to make the save. They were taken out, but Jarrett then actually made the save. He struck everybody with steel chairs. All of them put their hands up except for Ekmo, who took it straight on the skull.
Gotta love it.
And then they set up Dusty and AMW versus Russo, Ekmo, and Siaki for the following week.
Well, didn't they also do the thing where Jarrett, like, considered hitting Dusty with it for a second?
No, they're pals. They're friends.
Chose better of it.
And Vince Russo was like, you stupid son of a bitch.
You stupid son of a bitch.
For a whole year, we've been trying to make pals again. And you keep rejecting
It's not
me.
true at all. It's blatant lies from Vince Russo.
To be fair, it did start like that. If you remember, Russo did help him win the NWA title in the first place. And then helped him retain the belt a couple times. So he did help him out a few times before eventually he tried to ruin his life.
Yeah, he did help him when he was dressed as a KKK member.
Yes, that is a thing that happened.
And, like, not even a joke. Like, that was the point.
So we split off in multiple directions here as Styles is done with Dusty. We begin building toward Jarrett and Styles, and we have more Jarrett and Russo drama, and we have other stuff to talk about, including NWA TNA pay-per-view number 66, October 15, 2003. The show opens with Mike Tenay and Don West informing us that an incident happened in Japan between Jeff Jarrett and Hulk Hogan.
This ruled. I loved all of this. I thought the angle was really cool, and I loved the recap of the Chono match.
So we open the show where Mike Tenay and Don West are holding the newspapers of the Japanese coverage of Hogan's return to Japan.
And I think they were like, this is only like 3 newspapers of like 7 that covered it. And I was like, that's such a good little touch.
Yeah, and they're like, these are the mainstream newspapers in Japan covering Hulk Hogan's big return. The photos in the newspaper, they zoom in on the photos.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you think a New Japan ran Jarrett Hogan NWA title match would have done way bigger numbers than a TNA one?
No.
You don't?
Do you think anybody in Japan knows who Jeff Jarrett is?
Probably.
No.
I think he probably could have gotten away with it. I think it would have done bigger than in the US, probably.
Well, yeah, it would have done like basic New Japan show numbers, which is big, or like Hogan doing a New Japan date numbers, which is probably bigger than Hogan doing a TNA date numbers. But also, like, nobody in Japan would give a single shit about that match.
I don't know. I saw the newspapers, Garrett.
Like, Hogan wrestling a big Japanese star, like wrestling Chono for the first time, that's a big deal. Hogan wrestling Jeff Jarrett in Japan, nobody would care.
Alright, that's Bullet Club's Jeff Jarrett to you, mate.
There's also a note in the Observer, it's like, none of the reporters actually knew who Jeff Jarrett was when he did the angle where he attacked him backstage.
Okay, that's really funny. I take it back now. You know what's funny? Like this, the Jarrett attacking Hogan stuff just reminded me so much of Chris Jericho's New Japan stuff, where he'd show up and beat up Naito at like a contract signing or whatever.
Ripping off Jeff Jarrett, always.
I was gonna say, like, Jarrett and Jericho have very similar auras in New Japan.
I do like this. So they're showing all this newspaper coverage, and like there's the big photos of Hogan everywhere, and then like tucked in a tiny corner is a little photo of the Jeff Jarrett attack, and they're like, oh, look at this one too, we're in the paper.
Yeah, they would have done big numbers.
So yeah, they tell us about this incident. They show us the newspapers and say that they're going to show us the footage later tonight, which they do. Which they show the footage of Hogan beating Chono with the Axe Bomber Lariat. They show like the sold out Tokyo Dome, all 55,000 people according to Jimmy Hart.
Do you think like they sent Borash with him to go like get the footage, and all these Japanese news people were like, who the hell is this guy?
This Jerry Borash fellow.
Yeah. And why did he show up just for the Hogan post-match?
Just filming. I like the idea of JB just globe-trotting with Jeff to shoot shit. I don't know if JB was there. Maybe they just shot it themselves, and maybe it was just the regular New Japan backstage camera, but still.
I choose to believe so, because Jerry Borash has ring-announced the Tokyo Dome.
For multiple years.
Yeah, so take it back. I think he was there. He was making connections.
Or just that was TNA had a working relationship with New Japan.
He was making connections. Goddamn! Why do you take everything from me?
So TNA and West later in the show, they show us that footage of the match, and then they post-match angle where Hulk Hogan is backstage talking to reporters, and he's talking about how he's unfinished business in New Japan, and he also has unfinished business in the United States because he has never, Liam, been NWA World Champion.
I think Hogan winning the NWA title would have been pretty neat, but also I imagine there's a lot of people who are like, no, that is not allowed.
Do you think like Jerry Briscoe or Jack Briscoe or Harley Race or Dory Funk is just like, no?
I like to imagine if you had have tweeted out Hulk Hogan should have been NWA champion, people would have been in your quote tweets going, what? Clap emoji, do you even watch? Clap emoji.
All the Puro nerds would have been jumping all over me. So in the middle of Hogan's speech about how he wants to become NWA champion, Jeff Jarrett kicks the door down, bursts into the room, smashes Hogan over the head with a guitar, lays in some punches before Chono runs him off, and Hogan's laying there, bleeding in a mess in a heap with the Konami logo behind him.
The symbolism for me and how much money I spent on that company.
Ah, yes, you were lying in the heap for Konami, because they make the Yu-Gi-Oh games, don't they?
Yes, they own Yu-Gi-Oh. Sorry, I'll do a second version of that joke. Symbolism for Hideo Kojima getting kicked out of his Metal Gear.
Yeah, because Jarrett is Konami and Hogan is Kojima.
I like to imagine that it was just like Hogan uttering the words NWA that summoned Jeff Jarrett to Japan.
He just appeared there. He was like sitting down reading the newspaper in Hendersonville, Tennessee, sitting out in the lake being like, oh, I'm having a nice day. Then Hulk Hogan says the words NWA and he just appears outside the door with guitar in hand.
Yeah, ready to go. In a completely different, in his all white outfit.
To slap Hogan with the guitar, laying some punches. Hogan bleeding there, lying there. He's doing the, oh, you thought you could come to TNA? I brought TNA to you line that you will hear a lot in TNA history.
I really liked that segment. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was a good angle, I think, to jumpstart the entire the entire feud between Hogan and Jarrett. It only lasts a week because the match is off by the next week. But I think it's a good start.
I wish it had have paid off in an actual match. Or do I? I don't know.
And like, honestly, take out the dumbass Bash at the Beach stuff. This is just the angle. Hogan mentions that he wants to come to TNA to become NWA champion. Jarrett goes to Japan to beat the shit out of him. Hogan comes back to the TNA to get revenge. There's your... It's a simple, straightforward. You have a title match. You don't have to build it off the work shoot bullshit. You don't have to build it off stuff that people don't even remember or maybe don't even know about in the first place. You just tell a simple, straightforward pro wrestling angle. This company always over... Just, it's pro wrestling. You don't need to shoot all the time. You don't need to base things off backstage politics. You can just tell a good, simple story.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Shoot.
Do you want me to shoot? Pew pew. I think Hulk Hogan isn't worth the hassle.
It is interesting to see New Japan footage on TNA television for the first time.
Not the last.
Certainly not the last. Over multiple iterations between TNA and New Japan, their relationship changes multiple times through the years in ways we'll cover, I think, extensively as the show goes on.
Honestly, has there been a more on and off friendship in wrestling than TNA and New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Yeah, Impact and New Japan back together again. Just had the Bullet Club break up on Impact.
Yeah, you're getting some big New Japan angles on Impact.
It's wild to see how that relationship... And this is the start of it. This is the first time TNA and New Japan came together to work together in any capacity.
World Japan or Wrestle Japan or whatever the hell it was called. Absolutely shaking right now.
They're like, oh no, we got that sick Kenzo Suzuki against Perry Saturn match. No, we'll get nothing now?
I was really hoping for Kenzo Suzuki Rick Steiner at some point.
With his cool pants.
God, those pants were cool.
So Mike Tenay's in the ring. He talks about what we just watched with Jeff Jarrett attacking Hogan. He talks about how there was an announced attendance of 47,000 in the Tokyo Dome.
I like that Tenay's like, I will not bow to this.
I will maintain my credibility by making it entirely clear it is an announced attendance and not the actual attendance. Before Jeff Jarrett comes out to talk about what he did, the crowd's chanting Hogan all through his promo. He does the usual, instead of Hogan...
Yeah, and they're chanting some anti-Hogan stuff as well.
It's predominantly Hogan. There is persistent Hogan chants over his entire promo, and then there's a "We want Hogan" chant later, to which some of the crowd, a smaller portion of the crowd, respond, "No, we don't."
Don't you call the heel section that?
Listen, we want that heel section out. Don't you disrespect AMW.
Yeah, I think it's a new heel section. Oh, we got to talk about the heel section being represented at AEW.
Oh, the heel section sign, the heelsection.com sign, which may just be a different podcast, but it was in Nashville, so it's canon. That was the heel section.
And they were in, like, the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, too. I was like, oh my god, they even got the same section.
They were in more or less the heel section. So yeah, there's canon that the heel section from 2003 TNA re-emerged for AEW Dynamite last week.
You should have seen the reaction I had when I saw that.
I missed it. I didn't see the sign, and you pointed it out, and I had to go back and find it.
I was truly appalled. I was watching that Dynamite with someone, and I had to explain the heel section to them because I was so overcome with emotion at the heel section sign.
They should have sent Alex Marvez out there to have a talking to with the heel section.
There should have been some more NWA TNA crossover on that show.
Hey, CM Punk did the dog collar match, which was a direct callback to the dog collar match he did against the New Church.
Oh, and not to mention the dog collar match on this show, exactly referencing the Roddy Piper Valentine stuff. It's pretty insane how there's always something that's relating to current day wrestling from NWA TNA.
You see, NWA TNA is the true genesis. That's the reason they were using the name Genesis. It's the genesis of all the ideas in pro wrestling. They all actually came from NWA TNA. And like Mercedes Martinez actually wrestled on that show and in Nashville for AEW, and yeah, she had a match in the Asylum. She had the match where Desire broke her back.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
I don't think we ever mentioned who Desire's opponent was then. It was Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, we mentioned it on the watch through, I think.
Jarrett's doing his promo. Mike Tenay brings up the Bash at the Beach thing, which again, they just call Florida, I believe. And Jarrett loses his shit. He's like, no, don't you mention that, Mike. I told you never to mention that. Until Vince Russo tackles Jeff Jarrett from behind.
Yeah, this is the business he had to settle.
Because there was a match earlier in the show that was meant to be Russo teaming with Siaki and ECMO against AMW and Dusty, but Russo pulled out of that match, replaced himself with Legend, because he had business to settle. And that business is with Jeff Jarrett.
So this is an interesting segment, because this is full return of Stone Cold Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, maybe the most Stone Cold Jeff Jarrett has ever been. But I think it's meant to put sympathy on Vince Russo because of how brutal Jeff is here and because Jeff is going heel. But I couldn't bring myself to feel sympathetic for Vince Russo.
It's a weird one because, like, Russo is still a heel. He's still attacking him for no reason. He's still blindsided. He does kick his ass for a while. He beats the shit out of Jeff Jarrett for a minute or two before Jeff Jarrett turns the tide. And then, yeah, as mentioned, Jeff Jarrett just turns it around and just relentlessly beats the heck out of Russo, hits him with a garbage can, just brawls around the building, beats the living shit out of him.
Was he, like, restrained to that fence? Because I think he was just, like, hanging there while Jeff was just laying in these giant shots on him.
And Jeff just beat the shit out of him, and beat the shit out of him, and beat the shit out of him. And you're right, even like Don West again was doing like subtle heel stuff, and he's like, oh, maybe this is too far. No, was he cheerleading this? He was like, what was Don's reaction to this?
Don was saying that it was too much, and TNA was going, well, Russo started.
Yeah. So he was siding subtly with Russo the heel. But maybe Russo's the babyface here? Because Styles is kind of a babyface here.
Because, like, the way it was being, like, sold was, like, even just having Don be like, ugh, it made you feel like you should be feeling sympathy. I just think this Jarrett heel stuff is all very muddled at this point.
And it's funny, again, going back to the last couple of months, we were talking about how, like, oh, for once there's defined heels and babyfaces. There's nobody on this show who I don't know whether I'm supposed to boo or cheer.
And that goes away this month, I'll tell you that for sure.
There's a ton of people this month who aren't defined heels or babyfaces, including this segment where neither Jarrett nor Russo are defined heels or babyfaces in this moment. And, like, Jarrett's doing a heel promo on Hogan, so Jarrett's kind of a heel, but, like, Vince Russo is obviously still a heel. He never turned. Even in this show, he's, like, ducking out of a match against Dusty to do this brawl against Jarrett, so he's even, like, kind of heelishly escaping getting his comeuppance from Dusty as well. So, I don't know, we're not meant to like anybody, I think, is the real message.
The NWA formula.
Eventually, Styles, Siaki, and ECMO they don't really make the save. They just kind of come out and Jarrett leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the show is going off the air, after our main event on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 66, Jimmy Hart is on the phone and he's talking about how Hulk Hogan's coming to TNA, brother, and he's armed and dangerous and he's going to take over and he's going to win the title. And then Jarrett comes out and he's like, no, I'm focused on AJ next week. I'm going to win the NWA World Title. This is the first actual mention that Hogan is on his way to TNA, and AJ comes out, brawls with Jarrett as Dusty looks on. That's your go-home angle for the World Title match.
I like the cool guy who was wearing a Sting mask in the background of this segment.
Was it Sting?
It might have been.
You can never discount a person being wearing a Sting mask as being Sting.
He did grab a child's face and pull it back at one point. I was like, this guy's getting very rough.
Is that a thing Sting does? Does he assault children?
We'll have to wait until the Paparazzi Productions segments come out.
So Jimmy Hart announces Hogan's coming to TNA, and then that takes us to NWA TNA pay-per-view number 67, October 22nd, main evented by AJ Styles versus Jeff Jarrett for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
It was alright.
I didn't like this match. I thought they had a very good match earlier in the year when Styles challenged Jarrett for the title. I liked that match a lot. I thought it was a good version of the Jarrett formula. I think, like, fair enough, I knew in hindsight that AJ's losing the belt here, but I think literally everybody watching the show knows that AJ's dropping the title to Jarrett here to set up the Hogan stuff, so that doesn't help.
If it makes you feel better, I'm clueless, and I knew that he was dropping the belt here.
So I think it really, really doesn't help that it's clear as day AJ's dropping the belt. They're doing the double turn that Jarrett goes heel, so Jarrett tries to hit it with a chair, AJ kicks out, Jarrett gets a belt shot, then Jarrett wins the belt with a belt shot. Callis celebrates with Jarrett. Callis and Watts are at ringside. Actually, a weird thing. Earlier in the show, literally the match before this, there was a match between AMW and the Naturals, where the Naturals cheated to win. Eric Watts came out, restarted the match, AMW won. The very next match, Eric Watts is standing at ringside, watching Jeff Jarrett strike AJ Styles with the NWA World Title, pin him, become champion, and he doesn't restart the match.
Garrett, you're forgetting one key component here. That's his best friend.
Ah, the corrupt Eric Watts. I didn't think Eric Watts could betray me like this.
It's nepotism. That's his best friend.
He's just letting his best friend do whatever he wants so he could become NWA champion again.
If you cheated to win the NWA title, Garrett, I wouldn't restart the match.
Even if I was associating myself with your mortal enemy while doing it?
I wouldn't restart the match.
Because he is associating himself with Don Callis while doing this. He's celebrating with Don.
I wouldn't restart the match. Even if you were associating yourself with the guy who said that my bit about not reviewing the match wasn't funny, I would not restart the match.
Your one mortal enemy in life. Mm-hmm. So the story in this show is that AJ didn't want help from Russo, Siaki, or ECMO. Russo's not here. Russo was taken out by Jarrett. So ECMO, Siaki are like, AJ doesn't want to talk to us, and AJ's like, stay backstage. Siaki does run out to try and interfere, but Dusty runs him off. And yeah, as mentioned, Jarrett with a belt shot, with fully cementing his heel turn, becomes your new NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
So I think a point we both differed on here is that I thought this still carried the gravitas of an NWA TNA title match, where I think you felt it didn't.
No, and I think part of that is I think the build to AJ and Jarrett had too much to do with other people. Like, Jarrett was feuding with Dusty, Jarrett was feuding with Hogan, Jarrett was feuding with Russo, but Styles was like the fourth most important person in Jarrett's month here, even though he's building 3 weeks to a match between Styles and Jarrett. So I just didn't think it felt important.
Yeah, but I think it still did carry that weight with me. I'm sorry about the crickets. I have to open up this window.
I guess it adds ambiance.
Yeah, this is the After Dark portion of the podcast.
With added cricket noises.
Yeah, hope you like that. Ooh, sultry.
So earlier in the show, Jimmy Hart comes out and he's talking about how Hulk Hogan has signed with TNA, and the crowd go like, woo! And he's like, no, wait.
No, the crowd go, wait, what?
Because the way this promo is set up, this is the promo where he's announcing that Hogan is getting knee surgery and the Bound for Glory is postponed. After they announced Bound for Glory, they promoted Bound for Glory, and now they're like, Bound for Glory is postponed. They spent 2 weeks promoting Bound for Glory, and then Jimmy Hart comes out and he says like, I want to tell you that Hulk Hogan has signed with TNA. Every impression I do, it just ends up like Rick or Morty.
It's Morty.
It just veers toward Rick or Morty. Ah, jeez. Jimmy Hart as Morty.
Ah, jeez, Jeff Jarrett.
So yeah, Jimmy Hart comes out and he just says like offhand, like Hulk Hogan has signed with TNA, and the crowd goes like, well, woo, and he's like, oh no, that because he didn't say it as like a big pronouncement. It's like Hulk Hogan has signed with. He's like, no, Hulk Hogan signed with TNA, and the crowd is like, oh well, that's a thing we should cheer for. And Mike Today's like, oh hell yeah, that's the news we wanted to hear. And Jimmy Hart's kind of like taken off guard because clearly he didn't want to emphasize that point in his promo, given the next point in his promo, which is that he needs knee surgery. The November 30th Bound for Glory pay-per-view has been postponed.
I mean, we've already talked about all this. Yeah, took the air out of the crowd a little bit there.
I did like how Dave Meltzer reported that 37,000 people were in the Tokyo Dome for Hogan's match. Mike Tenay announced that an announced attendance was 47,000. Jimmy Hart has increased the number to 55,000 people on this show.
Yeah, I think 55,000 is like the big kayfabe complete sold out Tokyo Dome number.
So 55,000 people in the dome.
For a building that I'm pretty sure does not hold 55,000 people for a wrestling event.
Doesn't it hold like 35 tops?
I think it's like around that 37 mark.
Mm.
So, no. This did not do that.
So yeah, Jimmy Hart announces that Hogan is out of Bound for Glory and that the match is postponed, but it will definitely still happen, even though it doesn't. So Jarrett comes out after Jimmy Hart mentions Bash to the Beach. Jarrett's pissed. He's real mad. He gets in Jimmy Hart's face. He pushes Jimmy Hart over. He gets a leather strap and he just straps the living shit out of Jimmy Hart.
Unfortunately, because of Jimmy's years and years and years of tanning, it didn't really show up.
No, and even like we'll talk about the segment at the end of the show where he's like turning around to show his back. It's like you can see it. He's been whipped, but it's not. You have to like squint your eyes and really like focus on the whips on Jimmy Hart's back.
All right, if I was a worker, I'm gigging that back before that promo.
I don't think I'd ever gig my back.
I would gig my back for that promo. Because it was a great promo that he cut too.
Yeah, so Jarrett beats the living hell out of him, and then at the end of the show, after Jarrett wins the world title, Jimmy Hart appears on the screen backstage with Scott Hudson, where he does this big Jimmy Hart promo where he's like, you beat the hell out of me, well I'm going to make you pay. I'm going to have my revenge. Oh, jeez, Rick.
I really like, he's like, thank you for waking me up stuff. And it was so good. I was Dixie there, but thank you for waking me up. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
All of your impressions veer toward Dixie, all of mine veer toward Morty.
Yeah. We were talking about it on the watch along, and it's like, it's interesting that I feel people don't have this perception of Jimmy Hart anymore. That he can be like this guy. Like, people are just like, oh, WWF guy with the megaphone. Like, funny comedy guy.
Yeah, because, like, myself included, wouldn't have seen him as, like, an actual real manager and a dude who's a legit great promo. So to see a little glimpse of it here where he does cut this fiery promo about how he's going to get revenge for Jeff Jarrett, and he's managed so many people through his career, and he has this long list, this Rolodex of people he can call on to get revenge on Jeff Jarrett, and one of them is going to come next week.
You know, for two people who have watched very little territory stuff, we always gravitate to the territory stuff on this show.
Well, you see, it's mostly because the rest of it is like Vince Russo Crash TV, which isn't particularly interesting. So when you get someone like Jimmy Hart doing an actual pro wrestling promo, like a legit just good pro wrestling promo where he got his ass kicked and he's going to try and get revenge, which is like the very basic pro wrestling story. Like the 101 story is heel beats up babyface, babyface wants revenge. That's like the basic premise of every pro wrestling story. So when you just break it down to that very simple quality of Jimmy Hart, who's a very good promo, having a reason to cut this fiery, passionate promo on Jeff Jarrett, it's so much better than all of the other shite where they're trying to tell these big elaborate stories about worked shoots or like all this other nonsense and with comedy and skits and all that other shite that Vince Russo insists pro wrestling needs, instead of simple relatable stories of revenge and all that fun stuff that pro wrestling is actually supposed to be. So that's, I think the reason we gravitate toward it is because it's just better pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. So Jimmy Hart does bring multiple people to the October 29th TNA pay-per-view, NWA TNA pay-per-view number 68, where he's getting multiple people in. But before that, AJ Styles and Jeff Jarrett have a confrontation.
First thing that happens is like we get the reveal of the limo and some guy, just some dude.
Yeah, the limo driver.
It's just some guy just hanging out.
And Jimmy's like to the limo driver, it's like, hey, should I reveal who's in the limo? And Jimmy's like, no, I'm not going to.
It's like, all right, fair
enough.
enough.
And the limo driver's like, hey, whatever you want, Mr. Hart.
Yeah, and then he just kind of hangs out in the background. Whole show. But yeah, we have this Jarrett thing. He's coming out. He's like, oh, look at me. I'm a cool heel champion. Then AJ's like, oh, I'm a babyface now. And then because AJ is now a babyface, he gets, like, quite frankly, thrown the fuck out of the heavyweight division by the red shirts.
So Jarrett's doing this big promo. He's like talking about all he's achieved in TNA and how great he is. And he has this letter from a fan, which I transcribed the letter in its entirety.
Of course you did.
Because we need to verify the veracity of this letter, whether or not it's actually real. Because Jeff Jarrett claims this letter was emailed to him. So the letter says, Dear Jeff, I'm along.
Sorry, this is from someone in New Jersey. You must read this in a New Jersey accent.
Dear Jeff, I'm a long-time fan who's watched
I literally just spit take.
every single episode of TNA on pay-per-view. And I wanted to take this chance to send you an email thanking you for everything you have done for wrestling fans in the country. Congratulations for winning back the belt that was rightfully yours all along.
Joey Wheeler!
The NWA World Heavyweight Title is the most prestigious title in the wrestling business. And the belt is in the right hands, with you as champion.
Hey, Yuki!
I also want to thank you for doing yourself and the entire wrestling world a favor by getting rid of Vince Russo the way you did. He is really a cancer to the wrestling business, and if you give him a chance, he would have killed TNA. And finally, Thanks for going to Japan to take care of Hulk Hogan before he had a chance to come to TNA. As soon as I heard rumors that Hulk Hogan was coming to TNA,
a little bit.
I had a sick feeling in my stomach. And thankfully, you went to Japan and made sure you'd never step foot in a TNA ring. I will continue to watch every week. Hopefully, Jimmy Hart won't stick his nose in your business again. I can never get tired of you seeing you give that guy a beating like the one you gave him last week.
The coffee.
Thanks again, champ. Joey from New Jersey.
Holy shit, it was Joey! Joey last name Wheeler.
I figured it was Joey last name Janela from New Jersey, but you know what? We could say it's Annie Joey from New Jersey.
After that reading, it was Joey fucking Joey Wheeler.
It's Joey Wheeler from New Jersey.
Shit. He's got like a Brooklyn accent, but you sounded exactly like him.
There you go. Clearly. Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're recasting Joey Wheeler, I'm right here.
Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh!
The entire just entity that is Yu-Gi-Oh!
We've already talked so pleasantly about Konami. I'm sure they'll be all for it.
So Jeff Jarrett reads that letter, and then AJ Styles comes out. AJ looking like the jerk boyfriend from a rom-com in 2003.
Oh, just looked like shit.
He had his hair like spiked up. He's trying to look cool. He's the most 2003 looking man.
Yeah, he's got to get that X Division hair again.
Legitimately, I think that's what they're going for. So Jarrett's like, hey, why don't you go back to the X Division?
Why is he Joey now?
Everybody's Joey. Everybody is either Morty or Joey Wheeler.
There you go. Yeah, I hate it when they use the X Division as like a punishment.
And I think this is the first time they've really done it, where it's just like, oh, you go back to play with your flippy boys over the X Division. You're not heavyweight
No,
material.
because they did that when AJ first went to the main division. They're like, you're just an X Division guy. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm just the best part of the show. Sorry.
Yeah, this dude is NWA World Champion. He beat Dusty Rhodes. He beat freaking Jerry Lynn. He beat Frankie Kazarian. He beat Raven. He beat
you!
He beat Jeff Jarrett for the title. He beat all of these people, and you're still burying him as not on the level of the heavyweights because he's small.
He beat you.
So yeah, the Styles goes to take out Jarrett, but the red shirts, as mentioned, literally drag him out of the heavyweight division.
This was a terrible image. This made him look like such a fucking geek.
And the weird thing is he doesn't go back to the X Division yet, because the idea here is he is going to go back to the X Division to stock back up the X Division and be like
You know what? Good. I'm glad.
And yeah, he's meant to be like the marquee face of the X Division, but he doesn't really return to the X Division until the summer of 2004. So like he still has a good like 6, 7, 8 months in the heavyweight division before he goes back to the X Division.
Just as some sort of jerk off.
So yeah, then we had our main event where Jimmy Hart had not one but two people, because in the middle of the show TNA went full WCW Monday Nitro, where it's like there's a mystery man in a limo and a mystery man in a Hummer.
They went to some dealership, and the dealership's like, here, 2 for 1.
Again, if you listen to our friends, the Days of Thunder, you will be very intimately familiar with WCW's penchant for introducing mystery Hummers. And who is in the mystery Hummer?
It's me.
So we had our main event. The man in the mystery limo, Liam, was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
A match you loved.
Listen, I think Mike today worked me into a shoot. So...
I thought it was like the pumpkin for sure. I was like, Garrett saw the pumpkin shot and was like, 3 stars.
A couple days before Halloween, he did hit him with a pumpkin, so I do very much approve of that. But like Mike today was just going batshit crazy on commentary, talking about how this is a Jim Duggan unlike anything we've ever seen, and he did work with intensity and energy that I don't think we've seen from Jim Duggan in a long time at this period. So like it was cool to see him go out there and be like fully fired up, beating Jarrett's ass, hitting him with a pumpkin. And the match was only like 3 minutes long, so you can't really go too bad with a Jarrett Duggan match. It was shorter than the Duggan against Mike Sanders match that I did call the worst match in TNA history.
There you go, full circle.
So Jim Duggan has redeemed himself by having a shorter, brisker, more high energy match against Jeff Jarrett.
We did get a taste of that old Jim Duggan spirit. That he wasn't scared. That his kids begged him not to do this match with Jeff Jarrett, but he said he had to do it.
Saddam Hussein couldn't stop Jim Duggan from getting this match against Jarrett. If people haven't listened to the older episode, that quote is going to seem so strange out of context.
My favorite bit of this was Don West saying something along the lines of, "How can you boo America?" And I was like, very easily.
And so the man in the mystery Hummer, Liam, was Rick Steiner.
The crowd was into this. I was into this. I was going, oh.
Dogface Gremlin, you were barking.
Yeah, I was like, Braun Breaker.
So I couldn't tell whether or not they had a real match.
Yeah, it rang the bell. It's a real match.
So yeah, they work for a couple of minutes, then the ref is bumped, then Jarrett hits him with a guitar and the bell rings. I don't know who calls for the bell because the ref was just bumped, but Steiner's obviously...
It was on the outside. He saw it on the outside. He called it.
So Steiner's obviously like, I'm not losing. Whereas Jim Duggan is like, I'm losing. Speaking of not losing, one of the people asked to be in this segment was Honky Tonk Man, who was asked to appear on this show to put over Jeff Jarrett, but turned it down.
He didn't. He's like, I'm the guitar guy.
Yeah, I'm not being buried by this dude stealing my gimmick.
Yeah.
And Jarrett defeats Steiner by well, actually, no, technically he loses to Steiner by DQ because he hit him with a guitar. And then Jimmy Hart comes back out and it's like, you may have dealt with them, but next week, Jeff Jarrett, you'll be facing Sting!
I mean, couldn't get Sting this week.
Listen, he only had budget for a Hummer and a limo. He couldn't get another limo, maybe a helicopter. How does Sting arrive, do you think?
Propels, obviously.
Oh, yeah, he couldn't get up into the rafters. He was like, how do you get to the rafters of this building?
Yeah. He propels from space.
Sting is an alien?
Well, actually, as I've seen from now, he has like some cool Cadillac thing because he picks up his son in it when he goes to wrestling.
Excuse me?
Well, you see, he's got this guy called Darby.
Oh,
Allin,
right. Yes, sorry, that son.
Yeah. And when he goes to the wrestling, he always picks him up in some cool Cadillac. I like that they actually travel together. Have you seen that video? There's a wonderful video of a guy who had like AEW plates on his like car, and Darby and Sting pulled up behind him after, I think it was All Out. That was the most recent one. It was Full Gear. They pulled up like behind him in traffic at like a red light, and they saw that the guy had AEW plates, so they both ran around to each side, and they were like, ah! And the guy's like, ah! And he's like, Sting!
That's cool.
Yeah, so Sting and Darby actually ride together.
Because they're father and son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to go back to their house, obviously. I was going to say, how much Sting content do you think is going to be in Darby Allin's reality show that he's getting to replace Cody?
I hope it's all of it. I hope they legitimately pretend that he's his father.
That'd be really funny.
Sting just playing reality show dad. So we are building to Jarrett and Sting next month.
Yeah, Bound for Glory main event.
Well, no, but just a regular TNA pay-per-view main event.
Well, eventually, right? They main event to Bound for Glory against each other.
That's true. We just have to wait 3 years down the line.
I'm looking forward to when we get out of the weekly pay-per-view era.
We only have a little over a year more of it, a little under a year more of it even.
Ah, look, we're getting there. We're getting close.
We're nearly to the end of 2003. We're running through these shows.
Yeah, feels it.
So that is the end of the world title scene. Let's move toward Raven and the New Church.
The other thing that's going to take up fucking forever.
I don't know, because like there's a lot of angles in all these shows. So the story of this month is that Shane Douglas has been relieved of his New Church duties.
Do you want to run through the Shane Douglas stuff real quickly? Because that's a lot shorter.
Yeah, so at the start of the month, there's a promo before a Trial-K against Slash, Slyn, and Vampiro match where James Mitchell is just like, hey, Shane Douglas, thank you. We're done. You've beaten Raven for us. You've taken us there. Our relationship is now over.
Yeah, and the story, of course, being here that, like, Douglas wouldn't have had a way into TNA otherwise. So this was his way in, and now he's in. He earned his spot, and he's going to go on to do his own stuff now. Mainly cutting promos into pairs of tits.
So, yes. Shane Douglas's new thing this month is that he is trying to recruit the new franchise. He's the man who popularized the shoot interview. He's the man who popularized the triple threat match. He's the man who made the franchise a household name. So now his new thing is he's going to recruit the next generation of franchise. So he's on a recruitment mission to find his new protege.
By cutting promos into titties.
So yeah, the entire thing is just a pretense for him to get women to show up next to him so he can talk to their boobs.
I did like the payoff here on the last week though, where the cameraman's like, all right, I'm going to go in for my booby shot. And then Shane Douglas is like, cuts this really good promo in to the camera about how like, nah, I pay your bills. I dragged you off the street. You'd be filming weddings right now if it weren't for me. So to keep the camera on me. And then he cuts his off-camera promo to to whoever it is. And they do like the little back and forth there. It's really good. I like that they obviously filmed all these in advance because Shane Douglas had his facial hair in all of these. But then when he shows up to do the live show stuff, he has a clean-shaven face.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Continuity errors in TNA.
But honestly, I think I just like Shane Douglas. Because all this Shane Douglas stuff was great.
Yeah, and he's good in this role as like the veteran who's trying to recruit the new generation of franchise. As mentioned, it's Michael Shane. They accidentally revealed that on the show because on the October 22nd show, Michael Shane has a match against Christopher Daniels and Chris Sabin, and they accidentally play the franchise's music before Michael Shane's music.
And of course, they don't acknowledge it. It also reminds you how good the Shane Douglas theme music is.
So yeah, it's very strange that they completely. But even like Michael Shane is talking backstage about how he's been getting advice that he should be doing this or that or shouldn't be defending the title in this way, and the announcers are forced to like not put it together. Like they even work it out that it's one of those three men that he's scouting because he is watching. He's shown in the crowd watching the X Division matches.
He does it twice. Like it's pretty convincing. He doesn't do it for any other match.
So he's very clearly he's recruited Michael Shane. The commentators should be able to put this together, but they're still like, who is he scouting? Who's in his new franchise?
I'm curious if franchise is the one who's like, change your name. Stop doing this Shawn Michaels shit.
No, the only reason that they don't change the name out of like a choice, it's just because WWE hired the Shane brothers, and Michael Shane was one of their names, which was trademarked, so he had to change his name to Matt Bentley.
But he had it first.
But he hadn't trademarked it.
That seems like, can't you like make a claim that you had it on TV first?
I feel like you could.
Maybe they didn't care enough.
Yeah, or WWE just have more lawyer money.
Well, they definitely have more lawyer money.
I will say the crickets do add a nice ambiance.
I'm glad. Sometimes when like I'll play D&D online, I'll normally put on like a Witcher soundtrack or something, right? But sometimes I just search up like outdoor sounds, like just crickets going or a light breeze or something like that, something to add the atmosphere in that way.
So NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64, Raven comes out to cut a promo about how he's going to take out the New Church. He runs them off after Slash, Sin, and Vampiro are disqualified in a match against 3LK after Vampiro hits Ron Killings with a cane, which deeply confused the announcers, by the way. They're like, what's it a DQ for? It's like, he hit him with a cane in front of a referee.
To be fair, are they wrong to question this in this company?
There's low blows this month that happen just right in front of the referee, and the referee just doesn't do anything.
There was one really good one that was hidden like just by running in and running out really quickly. So my biggest takeaway from this match was that Don West hates 3LK's theme music.
Does he? Why?
Because he goes, thank God they broke up the 3LK debut of the song.
He's not a big fan of 3LK's genre of music.
Yeah, he's like, thank God. I hope we never have to hear that ever again.
And later in the month, 3LK come out to a different song.
I think he did it.
Don West got rid of the song.
So yeah, I think this one, for me, it kind of immediately killed Vampiro's aura. Because like, day one, he has to get in there with fucking BG James, who like does a dance in front of him. And you're like, I don't know, man. It's Vampiro. Maybe just treat him with a bit of like, oh, it's Vampiro.
Yeah, because Vampiro has a few matches this month. He has this one and he has a match against The Gathering before he does the Raven match. And I would have just said, just don't have him wrestle. Just have him build to the Raven match.
Or like, book him like fucking Malice and have him just run through him.
Yeah, have him squash Mad Mikey or Shark Boy or something.
Yeah, I really thought this was a bad decision to have, like, a guy who clearly was like, I don't fear this guy at all. When he was, like, this white hand of murder for a month.
So Raven comes out, runs off the New Church and talks about how he's going to go through the New Church one at a time. This is his new mission, to take them all out.
I just really want to reaffirm here, Raven looks so much better like this. And now he's got the face paint going again. Ugh.
And he has the dog collar around his neck, so he has that little chain added as well.
Just the coolest.
So he wants to get to Mitchell, and he's going to take out everybody before he can get to Mitchell. There's a note. Vampiro has rubbed some TNA agents the wrong way by offering a few too many suggestions for his character. The focus of his storyline is on Raven and Sinister Minister, and the word in the locker room is that Vamp isn't content with being a supporting character.
I mean, fair enough. It's probably hard to be a big star somewhere and then be like, alright, I'm just a guy here.
And like, the point of this feud is not for Raven to get to Vampiro, it's for Raven to get to Mitchell.
Yeah.
And Vampiro is like the big boss of the New Church still, but he's still like the step before Raven gets to James Mitchell.
But like that's the whole, like, the territory shtick, right? It's like you want to get to the manager above all else. Also, like, James Mitchell is literally the devil, so
yeah. And I think this is the last we see of Vampiro. All of his stuff is here in October. Like, all of Vampiro's TNA run, every match.
How fitting. Hallowed weed.
Yeah, it's the spook month for the Blood Gallows of Retribution match, or whatever it was called.
Fucking Dream Blood of Retribution.
I think it was Dream Blood of Gallows Retribution, Doc Gallows.
This is a Devil May Cry mission.
Dream Blood of Festus match.
Oh, that sounds disgusting.
So yes, Raven starts his journey through the New Church with a match against Sin on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 65.
I just read this, and my only note was the word blood.
My favorite thing was the promo leading to this match, where backstage James Mitchell was there with his New Church, and he's talking about how tonight Raven's going to face Sin. And Sin is a tough dude. He's so tough that we're going to throw darts in his back right now, right in front of you, so you can see how tough this man is.
This was the promo where I officially declared that the New Church are the best thing NWA TNA has ever done.
So, like, Mitchell is just cutting this promo about how Sin is a tough guy. Sin turns around, Slash walks up with some darts, and just starts throwing him in the back of Sin.
I like that at the end, Sin doesn't even get, like, the credit for this, because it's Slash going, next to his back.
He doesn't even know, so he doesn't even turn around. He's just there with darts. And, like, it's so typical of pro wrestling that they probably shoot through darts in the man's back.
Oh, they 100% did.
It's so stupid that wrestling is like, oh yeah, we're going to actually throw darts in this man's back, even though there's probably a way we could very easily work the idea of throwing darts in his back without actually throwing darts in the man's back. But yeah, Raven beats Sin. I have very little to say about a lot of these actual matches. I think they're all fine. They're all like Raven just runs through the guy pretty quick.
I think everything this month was like between 2 and like 3 1/4. So if you want our impressions on the match, all of the matches, Not terrible, but nothing great really either.
The other note before this match is that Raven told the Gathering that this is a mission he wants to go by himself, so Punk and Julio shouldn't come out.
And we're starting that up now, too.
Yes, so after the match, Raven tried to get further revenge on Sin. Vampiro interfered. They were going to hang Raven again from the rafters in the corner, but the Gathering made the save.
He just said not to.
He did just say not to.
His bloody kids aren't listening to
They're
him.
not. So NWA TNA pay-per-view number 66, October 15th. The show opens after we get the Mike Tenay Don West talking about Japan. We get Mitchell being brawled out into the arena with Raven being dragged by a chain.
Yeah, this was actually pretty great. I wanted to mention real quick. At the start of 65, there was a really great little mini James Mitchell promo where his hair was all on his face and he was sweating and he's like, I want to literally kill this guy. I want to kill him and I want to see him in hell. And I was like, that's a great promo.
Yeah, I think it was included in the cold open, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a weird place to put it. It's like, no, put this good James Mitchell promo, put it like an actual spotlight on it.
They've started to do these things where like they would do the recap and then they'll cut to a promo what happened after it. But they're just in the cold open. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it was a really good promo.
It's not even usually like a full promo. It's usually like a 20-second, reaction shot.
It's like a New Japan interview.
Everything is the Japan with you on this episode, isn't it?
Well, only the good things.
So James Mitchell being dragged into the arena by Raven, he's going to hang him, but then he's jumped by Vampiro and Slash, and he's put through a table before, once again, the Gathering arrive.
Yeah, we're setting up a big match later on.
Yeah, so Raven was meant to face Slash on the show. Instead, the Gathering face Vampiro and Slash. And Eric Watts makes that change.
Classic.
So later in the show, Raven is backstage with the Gathering, and he's like, guys, I told you. And he's very patient, in fairness. He's not snapping on them. He's just like, I told you I want to do this myself.
I like how they're very careful here to make Raven not come across as a dick about this.
I do find it interesting how like Raven is like being pretty nice about it. Like he's not like he's not trying to drop bleach down CM Punk's throat.
I was gonna say the old Raven literally would have tried to murder one of them over this,
but instead he's just like, guys, I told you this is a mission I have to go through by myself. Please leave me do this by myself.
But also like, why? Just don't.
He wants to take them out one by one.
Real men accept help.
Raven's not a real man.
Whoa, what the fuck?
So Vampiro and Slash defeat the Gathering later in the show. Raven comes out, tries to get his hands on Mitchell, but Mitchell escapes.
Again. It's almost like they're paying off to that or something.
So NWA TNA pay-per-view number 67, Raven faces Slash in a dog collar match, which has, I think, my favorite dog collar match finish of all time.
That should literally be the finish to MJF Punk.
It's so good. So they have the chain between them. Slash charges Raven in the corner. Raven does like a real quick rope-a-dope, then pulls on the chain. Slash does like a 360 spin, and then Raven catches him in the Raven effect, drops him, pins him. Like, I can't do it justice to how smooth it is. It's like all one single movement. It's really cool. It's such a good finish.
Yeah, it looked really cool. There was some awkward moments in this dog collar match, but for the most part, it was pretty fun. I mean, Slash is great, so...
I think they're pretty cool awkward moments sometimes as well, where it's like they didn't measure the chain properly, or the chain gets stuck on the rope or something, and someone gets their head pulled the wrong direction.
What happened was, he went over it, but he didn't realize that the chain was still threaded around, so he went to Irish whip him, and he just got fucking yanked down by his neck.
Which, listen, very unpleasant, I'd imagine, for Slash, but a pretty good spot in a dog collar match.
If only it was something he had been ready for and could have prepared for instead of just legitimately having his neck get yanked.
Yeah, great finish to this match. After the match, he tried to hang Slash. Vampiro and Mitchell made the save. There's a brawl. Vampiro spat mist in Raven's face, but the Gathering ran out to help again, even though Raven told him not to, and Raven's mad because they turned to help.
Grr.
An angry man. So later in the show, the usual thing they do now, where Don West and Mike Tenay are running down the card for next week, Raven interrupts them to challenge Vampiro to a Dream Blood Gallows of Retribution match for next week.
This is the most pretentious thing I've ever heard in my life.
And like, it's a pretty simple story, or like the stipulation. The match, there's dog collars hanging from each of the 4 ropes. You have to tie the dog collar around your opponent's neck and choke them and hang them for the match to end. But yeah, the Dream Blood Gallows of Retribution.
I hate how much they said Dream Blood. Makes no sense.
The weird bit is they dropped the Dream bit for the next show. It's just the Blood Gallows of Retribution match.
Yeah, but then he has Dream Blood on his chest.
He does. So there's mixed messaging here from the NWA TNA.
And he cuts a promo where he's like, James Mitchell, I can't be your Dream Blood.
And then NWA TNA pay-per-view number 68, Raven finally gets his hands on Vampiro in the Dream Blood Gallows of Retribution match. Raven wins. They do the same DDT they did with Franchise, the top rope DDT through a table, except Vampiro took absolutely none of the bump.
Yeah, I think the table was out of place a little bit too here. It just didn't work out well.
Yeah, Raven just went ass first through the table. Vampiro did not come within a country mile of the table.
Not at all.
But then Raven threw him over the ropes, hung him. Vampiro was now taken out. Mitchell tried to interfere post-match, tried to throw a fireball. Raven ducked. Gathering ran out again. These boys do not listen.
And the problem here was, like, because it missed, they looked like dickheads running out.
And to be fair, it was meant to miss. Raven was meant to duck. But yeah, it's like, he was fine. What are you doing?
It would also, like Punk, like, grabbed him to, like, stop him. It was really weird.
I wonder were they meant to actually pull him out of the way, but they just mistimed it.
Yeah, it was very odd.
So yeah, Raven was mad that the Gathering came out.
I was mad because it looked stupid.
Then Raven challenged James Mitchell to a last man standing match for next week's pay-per-view.
What if he just says no?
Listen, his entire new church has been taken out. What's he going to do?
Say no?
That's true, he could just say no. And obviously, like, Sin wasn't that badly taken out. Sin is probably recovered.
And so just, like, make a call to Malice, you know?
Yeah, get Brian Lee back.
Yeah. But also just, like, don't show up next week. No, it's like, don't show up next week. So what, you lose a match by, like, count or whatever. Raven's still bald. Still scalped him.
Still got his hair.
Doesn't take that away from it.
Still got all his dignity and self-respect.
Yeah.
So that is the Raven and New Church stuff for the month. I will say, this felt like this program just should have ended with the hair versus hair match. The Raven Retribution story doesn't feel particularly interesting.
Yeah.
But listen, the matches have all been fine. The stories have all been fine. But after like 2 or 3 months of Raven and Douglas being like the highlight of the show, this month it's just a thing on the show.
Yeah.
Alright, tag teams, which I think we're going to be real goddamn quick about.
You don't want to get real in-depth with Doring and Roadkill?
I don't really even want to go like beat for beat through everything that happened with all these teams and stuff this month.
Let's just gun through it.
Alright, so we have the continuation of the 3 Live Crew against Diamond and Swinger feud. There's a 6-man tag team elimination match and a regular 6-man... a match between Sandman and David Young. Let's start with Sandman and David Young. So Sandman is meant to be facing Glenn Gilberti on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64, October 1st. But David Young is so eager to get into the good graces of Diamond, Swinger, and Gilberti that he's willing to take Gilberti's place in that match.
Well, it was more of like a prove yourself to us thing after he was like, hey, why'd you beat me up with chairs? And then they were like, it's just a thing we do. Come on, get over it. They gaslit him.
No, the beating him up to chairs was later in the month.
Wasn't that like last? Oh,
no, he beat him up. They beat him up with chairs after he lost to the Sandman.
All right, it's all the same thing.
These are the stories this month that there's just a bunch of stuff happening, and none of it is particularly interesting. It's just stuff.
Yeah, and like actively, some of the bad stuff happens in this stuff too, because like that tag match was dreadful.
Which one?
The AMW Young Gilberti.
I thought. We'll go to in chronological order. We'll get to. So Sandman faces David Young. Sandman wins with a top rope hurricane rana and a swanton bomb.
Well, he busts out the swanton every now and again.
I love him just doing high flying moves. It's so stupid. But more importantly, Liam, Sandman during this match was wearing a t-shirt.
Yes.
A t-shirt that seemed to generate a considerable amount of interest on Twitter in the last week.
It's a good shirt.
So it's the new TNA t-shirt with a TNA logo on the front, and on the back it says, I smacked it raw... ... I want more TNA.
They definitely don't have the copyright for this. We need to sell it.
Do we want to sell it is a question I would ask.
Yes! We need to bootleg this.
This is the worst t-shirt I've ever seen in my life. Anyone who likes this stupid.
I would wear this daily. We need to get this.
Next time you have a presentation or something in college, I want you to wear this t-shirt to it.
Alright, get it to me.
Wear your I smacked it raw... I want more TNA t-shirt.
Yeah, I would wear that. We did the club fucking initiations today. I would have worn that then.
Would you have plugged the podcast then, huh?
Yes.
Would you like to hear the story of my I smacked it raw, I want more TNA t-shirt, huh? You have to listen to You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
I think this is giving you a lot of reason to buy me this shirt.
Listen, I don't think I could find this shirt. I don't think there's very many of the...
If only some dashing rogues would bootleg it for people.
So that everybody could wear their I smacked it raw, I want more TNA t-shirt.
Come on. Tweet us if you want the I smacked it raw, I want it more TNA t-shirt from us.
I would love to be in the TNA marketing department when they're like, I smacked it raw, SmackDown raw, I smacked it...
Is that what it's meant to be? I just thought it was a sex joke.
Did you literally not put together the SmackDown and Raw part of it?
I definitely did not.
What the...
I just thought it was a neat sex joke, you know?
You didn't put together the shot at WWE in there?
Nope.
Liam!
I like it less now.
Yeah.
I thought it was some cool sex stuff,
No,
you know?
it's a really bad, dumb wordplay joke.
I smacked it raw. I want it more. She'd be like, I smacked it down. I'm a clown.
Why would you have it? I'm a clown. That doesn't put over TNA at all. Who are you, doink?
Move on.
I smacked it raw. I want more TNA.
Move on.
I still cannot believe that you actually didn't understand the shot at WWE wordplay in the t-shirt.
I just thought it was a cool sex shirt.
No, sex has been gone for a few months now.
Another shirt we should be bootlegging.
So after the match, Diamond Swinger Gilberti came out. They beat the shit out of David Young with the chair, and then Trio came out to save. Following week, David Young is like, "Hey guys, what the hell? You just beat the shit out of me with a chair." And they're like, "No," as you mentioned, "no, we do that to our friends. We only beat people who we like."
Yeah.
How high pitched can we get when we explain this?
Straight up gaslighting here.
Gaslighting poor David Young, trying to make them into a friend. Then we had a 6-man tag match. Gilberti, Diamond, and Swinger against 3LK. It was elimination rules. Disco was your sole survivor. The match was a match.
It was dull.
So much of the wrestling on these shows is just exists. It's just there. The crowd's dead. They're just wrestling in front of a dead crowd. Nothing is happening.
Yep.
Should we go to AMW Kid Cash and then pivot back? Because no, we'll go to Doring and Roadkill.
Yeah, well, do the AMW stuff as a part of that Abyss.
Cash and Abyss, yeah.
Cash stuff.
So we have the debut of a new tag team. We've seen Danny Doring in TNA before, but he has brought his old ECW tag partner Roadkill to face Diamond and Swinger.
ECW nostalgia runs, yeah.
I do like Gilberti being like, these guys killed ECW, now they're coming here to try and kill TNA too.
I liked him being like, I don't know who these guys are.
Yeah.
And then I bet Swinger and Diamond don't know who they are either.
Even though they wrestled in ECW and they were ECW tag champs.
And today's like, what?
You shut the fuck up.
Yeah, basically. He's like, this is bullshit. So I learned recently that Gilberti worked Dragon Gate.
Oh.
Or Torimon, rather.
Good for him.
As, I guess, a part of the WCW deal. And then apparently, shit on the show immediately after.
Of course he would not think Dragon Gate is good wrestling.
Yeah, it was just a little funny sidebar from Open the Voice Game on the VAW network.
Disco's Dream Run in Dragon Gate.
He's one match.
Who'd he wrestle?
He's got so many names. Boogeyman, Disco with a Q, Disco Inferno with a Q, DI, Glenn Gilberti with 2 N's, Brooklyn Stud, Slave, and Teaser. He worked 0-1.
God, why did these companies book Disco?
We're gonna be checking that out in a second, but let's find out what this Torimon match was first. Disco Inferno, Latin Lover, and Magnum Tokyo defeated the Italian connection of Berlinetta boxer Condotti Shuji and Pescatore Yagi. Aha, perfect. In 6 minutes at Absolutamente.
Dream match.
I'm gonna find out the show now. That was the Dragon Kid Darkness Dragon Mask vs. Mask match.
Ooh.
Tremendous match. And then, of course, his 0-1 match was Kohei Sato, Hoshikawa, Shinsuke Yamagasa, and Sasaki based against Aussie Beef, Boogeyman, Don Arakawa, and Saru the Man. I assume he was Boogeyman.
Aussie Beef is everything that happens when I say mean things to you on podcasts.
Aussie Beef is a Japanese man.
Still. Don't you ruin my wordplay.
But yes, that is some good old Puro.
The famous Puro featuring the Disco Inferno.
Coming soon to the Patreon. That's our crossover with Open the Voice Game.
So yes, Doring and Roadkill made their debuts. They took out Diamond and Swinger. They beat them in a non-title match. Then the following week on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 67, they had a title match in which they lost. I thought Roadkill looked good, but otherwise these matches were unremarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember anything Doring did in any of these matches. And the only thing I remember about Roadkill is that he did the cool dive.
Yeah, he did the double clothesline, which was rad. And then last show of the month, we had ECMO and Fatu facing... ECMO and Fatu is the same person. Siaki and ECMO Fatu facing Danny Doring and Roadkill. Nice little match, perfectly fine. ECMO and Siaki won.
Woo!
Yep, ECMO and Siaki also had a match against Mad Mikey and Shark Boy, but I guess we'll talk about that when we get to Don Callis.
Yeah, Sharky kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he was taken off the shows, even though they bought a bunch of Shark Boy masks to sell, and then Shark Boy wasn't on the shows for the rest of the month after October 1st.
Bet those masks still sold, though.
Shell, yeah.
I know that Vampiro's had a couple masks in the crowd, too. They really didn't play into the Halloween stuff enough on the last show, but there was a little bit of it.
And you had Jim Duggan with a pumpkin.
Yeah, that was the one, spot.
You see, they already did Styles and Russo dressing as Freddy and Jason, so they blew their Halloween load a couple months ago.
Yep.
So, if we're doing AMW against Cash and Abyss later, that probably brings us to the X Division then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unless you want to do Cash and Abyss now.
Sure, we'll do Cash and Abyss now. It makes more sense. So Kid Cash and Abyss started teaming through the month and then ended up feuding. So they had a couple of matches against AMW, the first of which was on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64, first match of the month.
Pretty good match.
Yeah, there was a real cool spot where Abyss was sitting in the corner and Kid Cash climbed his shoulders, then did a moonsault off of Abyss's shoulders onto Chris Harris.
Would you like to read one of my great notes for this match?
Sure.
Kid Cash looks like an evil Jeremy Renner.
You know, the long hair obscures it, but thinking about their faces, I see it.
I was really thinking late era Kid Cash when he returned to Impact with the short hair, but he does look like evil Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, I'll allow it. I will allow it.
And of course we had the biggest note in this match that Ron Harris has left TNA to be Randy Savage's road manager for his rap CD.
For his Be a Man CD, he's off to run the tour for Be a Man.
Yeah. Is there anything as simple as big man working for little man and the crowd is ready for the big man to have enough of his bullshit?
I was thinking the exact same thing here.
I was watching Wardlow here. I was watching Jamie Hayter here. I was watching anyone currently doing this shtick. But it is good-ass shtick every time.
And all people want to see is the big guy to snap and beat the living shit out of the little guy, and it works every single time. The crowd go nuts for it every single time. It's one of those timeless, simple pro wrestling angles.
Yeah, big fan.
So yeah, there's further Cash and the Abyss dissension here. Abyss's wetness level varies through the month, Liam.
He has a wet contender in this month as well.
Yeah, so his front is usually considerably more wet than his back, so he does dump something over his front, down his hair, and makes them all wet.
Maybe he just has a big water bottle like I'm currently drinking from.
Are you going to dump it over your head and make yourself Abyss levels wet?
I already spit take fucking directly onto my goddamn mattress, so I don't think I'm gonna.
But yeah, good match. The moonsault off the shoulders was quite cool, but Cash won after he used the chair. Terry Taylor tried to inform the referee about the chair use, then Kid Cash and Abyss attacked him. AMW made the save to set up Kid Cash and Abyss against AMW with Terry Taylor as special referee the following week.
We're never going to get to this point in the show, but I really want to mention that Mike Tenay called Don West Big Boy.
Ah, yes. It's his affectionate little name for him as well.
Yeah, it's a fun little notch. I'm going to be so hurt when West does the heel turn.
It's not until 2009, so you have plenty of time.
I know, but I'm gonna be so distraught.
The anniversary of that's coming up, actually. Was
I don't think I'm emotionally ready for it.
I did notice this month, while I was watching these shows, every time they cut to the announcers at the start of the show, there's usually the opening match, and then they cut to the announcers to welcome everybody. Mike Tenay, every single time, nearly, not every time, but 9 times out of 10, he says, "And hello once again everyone from ringside." Every single time, to the degree that I spent half an hour making a supercut of "and hello once again everyone from ringside" while watching one of these shows. I was I'm supposed to be watching it. It's no, I've heard this enough that I have to put 40 of them together into a single video. Actually, I'll put the video clip of Mike Tenay's "and hello once again everyone from ringsides" right here, so you can hear Mike Tenay say it 40 different times.
And hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. And then hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. And 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 hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. Hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. And hello once again everyone from ringside. Mike Tenay and Don West.
I do wonder, I clearly have verbal tics like that. I'm sure some of the listeners can tell me about some of them. So if either me or Liam have verbal tics that we don't notice, but you clearly do, let us know on Twitter at TNA History Pod. Let us know our and hello once again from Ringsides.
We know mine. I can't.
What's yours?
Oh, remember we had like a whole bit about it. We were talking about how well, it's I say a lot of ums, but we're talking about how I said the same thing over and over again, but I can't remember what it was now.
And I'm not gonna like ums and likes and those are filler phrases. Everyone uses those, but stuff like and hello once again from Ringside is one of those things that's just ingrained in Mike Tenay's brain. Like he probably just reflexively uses every week. I'm sure we all have them.
I mean, anyone who records hours of content, I'm sure has
those fallback phrases that your brain just goes to. So AMW NWA TNA pay-per-view number 65, October 8th, faced Kid Cash and Abyss in a rematch with Terry Taylor as special referee.
Which is some bullshit, first of all.
Don West on commentary was like, Terry Taylor's a veteran, and he's a professional, and he will not screw Kid Cash and Abyss.
And he did.
He absolutely did. He totally screwed them.
Yeah, it seems unfair. Kid Cash rocking the heel section shirt.
Was he?
Yeah, he came up with a heel section shirt.
I did notice he wore a Violent by Design shirt on one of these shows.
Wow. The original member.
The long-term foreshadowing of the 2020 TNA stable.
Hey, EY was booked this month too.
Yeah, EY saw that shirt and it just like the idea just sat in his brain for borderline 20 years.
I like that he's their guy. And I like that the guy who like gets off on beating women is the heel section guy.
That's the person you want to champion, isn't it?
A good little match, actually. I like this match.
Yeah, it's your usual good little AMW match.
AMW really are the best.
They're such a great tag team. So yeah, usual chair spots, ref bumps. So and then eventually AMW won with a super kick into a chair, which Terry Taylor was looking right at.
He didn't give a shit.
Allowing AMW to cheat.
Then of course we get Wardlow turning on MJF.
We get the big moment. So Cash berates Abyss for the loss. Cash slaps Abyss. He's shouting at him, but then Abyss slaps him back. Cash low blows Abyss to try and cut him off, but Abyss fires up, hits him with a backdrop, goes to the Black Hole Sam, but Cash bails out. Which you didn't like.
Yeah, I always think that you should give them the big moment, just because it's the big turn, it hits them off right, gets the crowd right into them. Like, I guess it's a little more different with Abyss, because he has, like, the one big move at the time. But, like, I was equating it to Wardlow, and it's like, I think I agree with you where, like, Wardlow shouldn't hit the knee or anything, but he should definitely hit MJF with a powerbomb straight up.
No, you see, I disagree. I think, MJF being hit with the powerbomb by Wardlow is the moment.
Oh, yeah, you know what, actually, he should, I take it back, he should powerbomb literally everyone else in the Pinnacle, like, 12 times.
Yeah, like, I suggested that in the watch-along, and you gave out to me.
No, I think in my head, I just imagined him, like, taking them out, which isn't fun, but I think because his gimmick is specifically guy who hits a bunch of power bombs, he should definitely hit a bunch of power bombs.
Yeah, he should take out every single person in the Pinnacle. He should power bomb them all, and then MJF should get away. And the moment is when he power bombs. Just like the moment here is when Abyss finally hits the Black Hole Slam, which he doesn't do. Because, like, he gets the firing up, he hits him with a backdrop, he is running wall, then the classic Abyss...
A backdrop that almost went real bad, by the way.
Like, Cash nearly didn't rotate, so he basically went up and nearly came straight back down in a way that would have been very, very bad, but it more or less worked out.
Yeah, but thank God we got the turn. I'm excited for this Abyss singles run now.
It's weird that he doesn't really go babyface after this, even though he's obviously the babyface in his feud with Cash.
He goes babyface against Cash.
So we have the first of two Kid Cash and Abyss matches for the month. NWA TNA pay-per-view number 66, October 15th. We got Kid Cash facing Abyss. Abyss wins with a Black Hole Slam.
I like the shock treatment.
Oh,
it's a great move.
I understand why nobody does it, because, listen, you're dropping on your ass every night. It's going to absolutely shatter your spine.
You should only do it if you have a thick dumper.
But especially a guy the size of Abyss, like dropping down on his ass with a guy on his shoulder, like, that's so bad for you.
Yeah, that can't be good.
Compressing your spine, compressing your ass, breaking your back. It's not a good move to do. This is the night where Kid Cash delivered the line in a backstage promo. I not only beat women, I beat legends.
Yeah. I mean, at least, like, it's comedic now again, I guess. So, like, at least, like, when it's so comedic and over the top, like, it's at least you can play it off as, like, this heel shtick. It's when, like, it got real that it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, when he's just silly and overly bragging about beating women. It's fine.
He's a silly little man now. So it's not like, but when like he's physically abusing a woman on the stage until she bleeds, it's a little much.
I know from backstage, Kid Cash and Abyss had a minor altercation in the TNA locker room following their match. After the match, Cash complained to TNA officials that Abyss had worked rough with him. Abyss took exception to Cash's claims and confronted him in the shower area. One wrestler described Cash's response. Cash went into his "I've been in the business for years and I'm not afraid of you, so bring it on" routine. Cash, who has a reputation for being a hothead, probably hasn't done himself any favours with Dutch Mantel.
I mean, Cash is he kind of has earned the right to be like, hey man, keep it a little light, you know what I mean?
Like, Abyss isn't like a rube. Like, Abyss is, I think, like a 4 or 5 year pro at this stage as well, though. So he's not like a rookie green guy. So I would understand Abyss taking exception. But also, Abyss is cooler than Kid Cash, so I take Abyss's side.
I just mean, like, you know, if you have a problem, you can bring it up.
Nah, Abyss should work stiffer with them next time.
Yeah, I do like that the response to this from the booking perspective is, yeah, let's put him in a hardcore match. Let's give him a chair and let him sort out how soft they're going to be.
One of them has to bleed. Following week, October 22nd, Kid Cash defeats Sanjay Dutt. Kid Cash beats up Sanjay after the match. Abyss makes the save. Sanjay crawls up on Abyss being like, hey, thanks, but then he gets black hole slammed by Abyss.
Yeah.
But debuting Sanjay, we'll talk about that more in a second.
No, he debuted in the tag.
But that's what I mean. We're mentioning him here, that this is the first that we are mentioning Sanjay, but we'll talk about Sanjay's actual debut in a minute. And then last show of the month, we had a steel chair on a pole first blood match between Abyss and Kid Cash.
I enjoyed this.
It was good for what it was.
It went a little long. I mostly liked it because of the post-match angle, I think.
Yeah, this is where Kid Cash had his Violent by Design t-shirt. There was a double rotation black hole slam in here. It wasn't like a real good one, but it was still a double rotation black hole slam, so I can't give out. So the finish was Abyss was kicking Cash's ass, but had the chair propped up in the corner. Cash sent Abyss into the chair. Abyss got back in the ring, continued to kick ass, but then the referee noticed that that shot into the chair caused Abyss to bleed, so Cash won the first blood match. Abyss, this is actually some long-term TNA storytelling here, Liam. Mm-hmm. Abyss went absolutely nuts at the sight of his own blood, kicked ass, destroyed security, wanted to kick some more of Kid Cash's ass.
Lore.
It is legitimate TNA Abyss lore.
Abyss has all the lore.
If you flash forward all the way to 2014 TNA, the Joseph Parks story is that every time he bleeds, he turns back into Abyss.
How does he turn into his brother? It makes no sense.
They're the same person, Liam. Learn your TNA canon. So there is your Abyss and Kid Cash stuff. AMW are also flirting around the Diamond and Swinger stuff still. They have a match at the end of the month against Glenn Gilberti and David Young. You apparently hate this match.
Yeah, it was bad.
I will say, this was the match where it's AMW shouldn't... I'm going to criticize AMW. It's going to feel so bad. AMW shouldn't be doing... I like this match. I didn't hate it as much as you did. But I will say that I reached the point where it's AMW do their formula match for every match, where they do the ref bumps, they do the interference spots, they do the foreign object. And you shouldn't be doing that for every match. You shouldn't be doing that for a basic ass tag match against Glenn Gilberti and David Young. I'm fine for your big blow-offs. I'm fine for your matches against the New Church or your matches against Triple X to have that. But when you're having a bog standard TV match against David Young and Glenn Gilberti, and they also, we should mention the Naturals debut this month as well. AMW wrestled the Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens as well this month. So those two matches, they do the full AMW formula. It's no, just go out and have a normal little tag match.
I just want to give a quick shout out here. You just reminded me. FTR straight up doing an AMW formula tag match with Punk and Mox.
Down to the ref bumps, everything I mentioned, the ref bumps, the interference, the foreign objects, the kicking out of the interference. That was the most AMW ass tag match I've seen in a very long time.
Well, and the move.
Well, they did an actual death sentence, but that's is it a Rock and Roll Express move or a Midnight Express move? They did that.
Yeah, in that match, it was a goddamn AMW.
Yeah, the way that match was structured, they were doing a death sentence. They were doing nothing else.
Yeah, I remember watching it and being me and you just being holy shit, they're working an AMW tag match here.
No, I said it to you, and then you were oh, Mister, everything is NWA TNA related, and then you just in brackets, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I was you're 100% right, but I gotta give out to you for constantly comparing things to NWA TNA. But it totally was a tremendous match too.
Especially because they were working Punk, who worked NWA TNA. So Punk, I hope it was Punk who's let's do an AMW match.
I think old Dax and Cash were watching some AMW tapes over the week.
What an AMW match. So AMW have two matches at the end of the month. One against the Naturals, who are Glenn Gilberti's hand-picked opponents, where the Naturals win, Eric Watts comes out, it restarts the match.
I like that way more than you.
The Naturals AMW match?
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
I liked it. I thought this was a good little AMW banger.
And then the last match of the month, which is Young and Gilberti against AMW.
Which was me.
But yeah, the Naturals will be a reoccurring force in the TNA Tag Division, and Douglas J. Stevens will be...
Forever.
well, for 3 years. But they will be generational rivals of AMW for a little bit.
Cool.
So that's all the tag team stuff, I think. Glenn Gilberti recruits Siaki and ECMO to take on AMW.
Over Swinger and Diamond.
Yeah, well, I think it's to take them out so they can't get the Swinger and Diamond.
Yeah, but Swinger and Diamond did offer. They're like, we'll take on these nerds again.
And Trinity thinks they're absolute idiots for listening to disco.
And she's not wrong. But I'm really excited for another Diamond Swing AMW match because their matches have been great.
3LK are still hovering around the tag division, Liam. Don't forget about 3LK.
No, they kind of disappeared, so...
X Division for the month, we have a bunch of Michael Shane title defenses. He has title defenses against Jerry Lynn, he has title defense against Christopher Daniels, against Chris Sabin, and against Chris Sabin and Christopher Daniels.
Okay, so do we want to get the Daniels stuff out of the way here?
So Daniels has been dumped down to the X Division, Liam.
And not only has he been dumped down, he has been completely devalued. Like, this guy is no longer in any sort of prominent spot. This feels straight up like... we tried something, it didn't work, we're kicking you down to the X Division. Like, this feels like a legitimate demotion.
Because he does have a match against D'Lo Brown, in which he does win on NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64, October 1st, first show of the month. He beats D'Lo. So there is a little bit of, like, he's still beating one of the quote-unquote main event heavyweight guys, I guess. Well, D'Lo's not a main eventer anymore. He's very much been dumped down into the mid-card. But then he is demoted to the X Division, and it's not even like, you know what, we'll give him an X Division title run. He goes in and he just loses.
He's putting people over.
He's been put in the X Division to lose the people.
I had some hope for it at the start because in the Kaz match, I had the note of nice seeing Daniels back in the X Division. I wonder if this is an admission of failure to his earlier push against Jarrett. And as I would learn later on, yes, it is.
It's just quite sad. So, first show of the month, Lynn loses to Michael Shane after Chris Sabin interferes.
And then Lynn takes offense to this and goes, why is there so much bloody interference? I'm leaving.
The next show, they show a pre-tape where Lynn is just like, I'm going home, and we don't see Jerry Lynn for the rest of the month.
We don't see a few people for the rest of the month.
AAA owner Antonio Pena was presented before the match. He had the X Division title. There's a fun note. AAA promoter Antonio Pena and Conan were in the same locker room for the first time since they bitterly broke off their business relationship several years ago. Vampiro, also a former enemy of Conan, was said to be instrumental in bringing the two back together.
I wonder. Didn't think Conan wasn't around for the rest of the month. So
well, he did some stuff.
He's probably still doing commentary.
And
right?
yeah. The more interesting note: Antonio Pena during this match went on commentary with Conan, which I kind of would like to hear that Spanish commentary to see where they're like sniping at each other.
If we could understand.
Yes, that's true. I don't speak Spanish. Someone translate the NWA TNA pay-per-view number 64 Spanish commentary for me, please.
Thank you.
If you can find it. But Chris Sabin made clear during the match he would put his Super X Cup trophy on the line in exchange for an X Division title shot against Michael Shane, which he did, and then he lost.
Yeah, Michael Shane won the Super X Cup.
So he is officially canonical winner of the first Super X Cup, I guess.
Congrats.
He won with a handful of trunks.
Won the first Ultimate X, and now this.
He is Super X Cup winner, it's true. Well done. On that same show, Daniels faced Kazarian as Bad Influence explodes.
Oh, I didn't even realize that, but yeah. Kaz has been thoroughly downcycled even further than Daniels. That was a good little match.
Because this is Kaz's only appearance this month, isn't it? So yeah, there's a lot of people who only have like one show up for one show this month.
Which is weird because there's like 5 shows. I think this would be the opportunity to have a bunch of people in 1 month.
This was a weird one. So Daniel's followers help him win successfully. He wins due to interference due to his 3 little goons. And then he's given out to him and chastising them after the match saying, I need my brothers, I don't need you.
I guess he feels weak.
But like, the following week he challenges Michael Shane for the X Division title, and the finish of that match is one of his goons tries to interfere on his behalf. He's accidentally sent into the X Division title, and then Shane wins. It's like, surely that's the moment where he's like, I'm done with my follower goons because they just cost me the X Division title.
I think it's a bit of both. I don't know. It's a growing issue.
It feels like they did that promo at the wrong time. Also, like, there's no follow-up on this. This happens on October 8th. There's 3 more shows this month where there is no follow-up on Daniels getting his brothers.
He's trying to track down Loki.
He's like, Loki, you still in Japan? Where's Skipper? What's Skipper doing?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Maybe he's in Japan too, because he does work all Japan.
Yeah, maybe they're all going to Japan. Daniel's working 0-1.
We're taking our Japan tours. Daniels, you can stay in TNA.
And Daniel's like, I'm going to go Big Curry Man now.
I forgot to mention my favorite Michael Shane promo this month, where he's talking about how, like, Shawn Michaels hasn't won Ultimate X. Shawn Michaels hasn't won any X Division title. Soon, Shawn Michaels will be known as Michael Shane's cousin.
He's not
He was
wrong.
listening to our podcast bit. We did that exact bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big fan of You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
Who isn't?
So Shane retains against Daniels. After the match, Shane tries to beat down Daniels further until Chris Sabin makes the save.
Babyface Sabin now.
Kind of? I don't know.
He also disappears, so...
I guess... No, he doesn't. He's in the freaking next title match in the last show of the month.
Is
Yeah,
he?
there's a three-way. Or no, it's not the last show of the month. It's the second last show of the month. But yeah, there's a three-way between him. He doesn't disappear at all.
He just wasn't on the last show.
Yeah, he misses one show and Liam forgets about him.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, Daniels is a heel, Shane's a heel, so do we have to turn... And we've turned Frankie as well. Frankie's kind of a heel, even though he works as a babyface, even though his character is that he's a ladies' man who's distracted by women. So is he a heel? Who knows? But so maybe they're like, we need a babyface in this division, so we have to turn Sabin.
He couldn't have been at the Halloween show. He would have been very distracted.
Why?
Because the girls wore the costumes.
Oh, right, I thought you were talking about Sabin.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he would have been distracted as well.
So that sets up a three-way match between Sabin, Daniels, and Michael Shane, which might have been the best match of the month, actually.
The best TNA three-way of all time.
No, that's probably still Styles, Raven, Jarrett. Like, even up to this period, it's not the best TNA three-way of all time.
I was just doing an unbreakable bit, okay?
The Daniels, Sabin, Shane three-way that everyone talks about.
Yeah, the very famous TNA three-way.
But I thought this was a good match. There's not a lot of, like, really good matches, and this might have been the best match of the month for me.
This 2 3/4 star
I
match.
disagree. Never mind. Which match is that? Oh, no, it was the other X Division match. It was the X Division tag I liked a lot, I think. No, I gave that 3.
Yeah, that was the best match. No, I didn't. I don't know what's happening anymore. I think I'm thinking... Yeah, that is the best match. Sanjay Dutt and Eric Young versus Fuego and Clark.
Because I gave one match this entire month above 3 stars, and it was the Raven and Slash match, and it was entirely for that DDT finish.
So the real actual best match was the return of these are just 4 X Division guys. It
Just going out there having a cool match.
was a cool match. We can go into the Sanjay stuff
Yeah,
now.
so Sanjay Dutt makes his TNA debut as Sanjay Dutt and Eric Young face El Fuego and Jarrell Clark.
I mean, just look at just 4 TNA legends.
All of them making their TNA debut other than Eric Young.
Who was in the other time.
Yeah, so real good match. El Fuego, I believe, is the father of Fuego del Sol.
Is that true?
He's also the father of Fuego 2.
Wow, that's impressive.
I don't think that's true. Don't.
Rest in peace, Fuego too.
The people who might actually believe that. It's like, oh, really?
This is good to see this X Division introduction style match again. They're great. Young did his double DVD, which is really cool. And I gotta admit, EY already feels TV ready.
Yeah, he's a guy who has just that natural charisma, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's ready to be on television at this point.
Jarrell Clark gets a cool 630.
As he's known to do.
He is Mr. 630. It is his name.
So I don't have much to talk about Sanjay in this match or the next match, but I have a lot to say about Sanjay in the last match of the month.
So yeah, Sanjay, I did like that Mike Tenay and Don West made a point on commentary to say that, like, most people that start in TNA get like a tryout and explosion and then work their way up. It's like, no, this guy came straight down to the pay-per-view because we're so impressed with them.
Similar way of being put over to like how Kaz and Sabin were.
Yeah, so that match was October 15th. So you had 2 more Sanjay Dutt matches. We've already talked about one of them. He was a face Kid Cash, and I'm almost disappointed that he was just playing the role of X Division jobber against Cash so quickly. But then he faced Michael Shane in a match that Shane's advisor told him to make non-title.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to talk about this match real quick. Sanjay got like 75% of the offense here. This was a showcase for Sanjay Dutt.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, and he was really good here, really impressive. Did a lot of really impressive flippity flaps. Michael Shane just kind of caught him at the end and won. But yeah, the match itself, not that much to note about, but I just thought it was interesting that this was like, hey, Sanjay Dutt showcase against the ex-champion.
Yeah, and Michael Shane has come up with this elaborate concoction to crown a new contender, which they went through. It happens over November, so we'll talk about it then.
I am so confused by it. So.
There's like a tournament, and there's eliminations, and it ends in the 3-way, and one person goes through to the final. I don't know. There was a bunch of rules. I didn't even include it in the notes because I didn't want to talk about it because it doesn't happen till November. So yeah, a pretty middle-of-the-road X Division month with a couple of good matches, but nothing special.
True.
And then best of the rest, we have Don Callis. I think the only thing left really we have is Don Callis.
Yeah, we already talked about we got and because the Don Callis we'll talk about Piper as well.
Yeah, the Don Callis stuff kind of intersects with all the other stories of the month. So Don Callis is trying to boot out everybody he doesn't like, even though the Sandman shows up again, so he's kind of failed.
But he showed up to get a win and leave. So
So Kid Cash and Mad Mikey face ECMO and Sonny Siaki on the first show of the month. D'Lo Brown interrupts their backstage promo, politely apologizes for interrupting their backstage promo, unlike some AEW talent who constantly interrupt people's interviews without offering some kind of apology.
Clearly they have more confidence than D'Lo.
So yeah, D'Lo's like, I have your back against ECMO and Siaki because I've had this beef with ECMO and Siaki for a few weeks now.
Yeah, they tried to kill me that one time.
They did. They held a funeral for me.
How rude.
So Don Callis comes up, interrupts, and is like, "Hey, D'Lo,
Interferes.
D'Lo, if you interfere, I'll boot you out of the building forever. You're not to interfere in that match."
He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you."
So D'Lo had the match against Daniels, which was Daniels won after interference from the red shirts.
A lot of red shirts on these shows.
There is a lot of red shirts on these shows. Like and like I will say, these first two shows are extremely flat. The first two shows of the month, but like. When you book a show and you're like, all right, we'll do Daniels and D'Lo, I think in your head at least, you can justifiably think that match is going to be better than it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But it's just everything on these shows felt super flat, particularly the first two shows of the month, the crowd were just stone dead. Did not care.
Me too, to be honest.
So when you get this D'Lo and Daniels match, which on theory, two good wrestlers, it's just a flat match.
Yeah.
So Siaki and ECMO defeated Shark Boy and Mikey with a real cool like press slam cutter.
Yeah.
It's a cool tag finish where ECMO took him up in a press slam and Siaki like cottered him down. It's a cool move.
It was really funny that this happened like immediately after the health insurance talk.
Oh god, yeah, well, let's finish this and we'll get to that.
To be fair, the health insurance stuff really happened over like 2 shows anyway.
So after Sharky and Mikey in this match, they hit a double dropkick and then they did a double stereo big wiggle, which I popped for.
Yeah, he did not leave the building, D'Lo. He came in, he's like, "Oh, we'll save you."
Yeah.
Callis, horrible misuse of power. It's just inappropriate.
So yeah, D'Lo tries to save, he gets booted by the red shirts.
That's just the theme of the month.
So there's a reoccurring story this month, Liam, where Eric Watts confronts Don Callis during a pre-tape, and he talks about how Rick Santel hurt his shoulder in a match in TNA, and TNA should pay for his health insurance. Or at least pay his medical costs.
Yeah, true.
Eric Watts, man of the people, of course.
Yes. Eric Watts, noted socialist.
And Don Callis just absolutely ridicules this idea.
Which is very funny.
Funny's a word. He's like...
I mean, it's objectively funny in like that morbid way.
I literally cannot believe, like I am stunned that there is a story on this wrestling show about how one of the authority figures is trying to deny people health insurance in wrestling. He's like, we can't offer health insurance. Look at the bottom line. It's ridiculous to even suggest that we'd offer health insurance.
It's the most ridiculous thing that Don Callis has ever heard in his life. And you know what? It's the most ridiculous thing that Don West has ever heard in his life too.
Yeah, Don West really good. Like, he's full on the, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. They know what they're getting themselves into. It's like, Don!
It's fucked up.
Why are you supporting the other Don?
Yeah, this is bad news. And then Don Callis turns it around. He's like, well, why don't you pay for it? I think Eric Watts is like, I don't have a spare $3 million lying around. Do you know our medical system?
Also, very importantly, of course, Liam, Eric Watts is only in charge of the wrestling. He's not in charge of the business.
But it's also like, if you cared about it, why don't you pay for it?
But it's not Eric Watts' responsibility. In theory, it's TNA's.
I think the funny thing, well, that's the heat, Garrett. that is the storyline. Yes,
It's a word for it.
Added extra heat here. Don Callis is from Canada.
That's true, where they do have socialized medicine.
So he can say all that he wants and then go to Canada and get his shit fixed.
It must be mentioned that Siaki and ECMO against Shark Boy and Mad Mikey match is Mad Mikey's final TNA match.
Oh, that's surprising.
Well, he would pass away in November.
Oh, that's less surprising.
So, yeah, I enjoyed what little of him we saw in TNA. I thought he was a good addition to the show.
I thought he would have stuck around. Like, obviously, there's a reason. But, you know, I thought if that hadn't have happened, we would have kept Mad Mikey around for a long, long time. Bit of a morbid jump from the health insurance bit.
Well, there's the Piper interview on this show as well, where he does...
Let's just get the Piper shit out of the way, man.
Where Piper does actually talk about it. He has the second sit-down interview at Mike Tenay on the show, where he does actually talk about how many wrestlers would have died if wrestling companies offered health insurance. And again, it's like, you're really going there.
Wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane that this is a thing that ever aired. Still, like, not wrong. You know, pay for your wrestlers when they're hurt.
This is clearly a story they wanted to. It's not just Piper doing some wacky Piper thing, because
It's a story they want to tell for about 2 weeks, and they go, this is fucking insane, and they stop telling the story.
well, that's TNA for you, though.
Yeah, but like I think even they were like, yeah, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, so this Piper interview is the usual Piper. Like, he's completely incoherent. No, you have no idea what he's saying. Mike Tenay is like kind of mean to him.
I don't know. This whole Piper thing was, what the fuck was any of this? Why did he even come back? This was 3 weeks of this.
Like, Tenay is like, so you got dumped by WWE, you're getting dumped by TNA. Why don't you just quit wrestling?
And he's like, yeah, all right.
And then Piper, you actually don't hear the final line of Piper's interview due to a reoccurring problem in this month's of shows, which is audio issues.
Yeah, they went HD and they couldn't keep up with the HD audio.
That's what Mike Tenay says anyway. But even then, like, the rest of the month, there is a ton of interviews where it's like, I think their production has been pretty good in recent months, but there's a ton of stuff on these shows where it's like they cut to a backstage interview and you don't hear the first like 5 to 10 seconds of it because they didn't switch the audio fast enough.
Yeah. It was pretty annoying at times.
There's a lot of rough stuff. But yeah, the last line of his interview is something to the extent of, I've never quit in my life in pro wrestling and I'm not going to start now.
And then we've never seen ever again.
No, we do get more Piper.
I know he's back.
And even when Russo's taken out by Jarrett, there's a story. Scott Hudson is talking to Don Callis in an interview where he's like, hey, Russo's gone now. Does that mean Piper can come back? And he's like, you've been getting your info from Watts, haven't you?
He should have been, like, paid for Vince Russo's medical expenses. He will be okay.
That would have been the heat, brother.
Yeah.
So we get a bunch of red shirt security stuff. October 8th, red shirts face Chris Vaughn and D'Lo Brown.
This is when we get Kevin Northcutt, wet contender.
Oh, is he? How wet is he?
He is insanely wet here. He is straight up Abyss levels wet.
Are Kevin Northcutt and Abyss? Did you call him Kevin Wetcut a second ago?
I didn't, but I'm going to now.
Kevin Wetcut. He did absolutely murder Chris Vaughn with the J Driller.
So the best thing that came out of this, I was like, man, it's a real shame they never got Chris Vaughn over because he felt like he could have been a legitimate homegrown guy.
And I'm not sure is he good, but he has that like underdog potential, doesn't he?
But it's like he can give it a shot, you know. I think he's young. He can do the flips. He can do the bumps.
It's like Northcutt. He absolutely kills him with the JJ. He like absolutely destroys the man. It's like, oh no, he's dead.
To the point where Eric Watts is like, you dropped him on his head, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, and he's like, we need to get medical treatment for him too.
And then we get on the next show a Liam Dream match.
I will say, it is exceedingly rare that I will say that Eric Watts is the best wrestler in a match. But here we are, Kevin Northcutt versus Eric Watts.
Banged. This match was tremendous.
Was it?
An old-time great TNA match. I mean, what is there not to like about this? I mean, except the result. That's the one thing.
Well, and the post-match saw a big return as well.
Yeah, your favorite wrestler came back. Don Harris.
Oh, no, that's not the return I was talking about. I was talking about Goldilocks.
That's what you were talking about. The big return that you were really excited for.
I was talking about Goldilocks.
And yet Goldie came back. I don't know what happened to Goldie in the meantime, but she came back a different woman. It's all that time with Eric Watts.
Kevin Northcutt beat Watts after he hit him with a chain. They jumped Watts after the match until Don Harris made his return, accompanied by Goldilocks. They're friends, apparently. Yeah, Goldilocks is a different person. Very weird looking.
Yeah, she, I don't know. Things got... I guess that's what living with Eric Watts does for you. Dating Eric Watts, this is where you go.
You gain the unhinged energy.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Goldilocks had a lot of unhinged energy in her own right, but when you combine it with the unhinged Eric Watts energy, it's...
It really brought it down a path.
Yeah.
Ever since they started linking up on screen, those two have just... It's the Joker and Harley. This is what this is. Eric Watts Joker-fied Goldilocks.
As you mentioned, Don Callis also got rid of D'Lo. He's gone for now.
Rest in peace.
Callis mocked getting rid of D'Lo. Mocked it, said you can just buy his bobblehead.
I looked for that bobblehead. I immediately went to eBay and was like, oh, this bobblehead. Another thing we should sell. I'm sure D'Lo won't care.
D'Lo won't care about his intellectual property. It's fine.
I was going to say, like, the shirts I think we can get away with. I don't know if we can put someone's image on something and be like, here you go.
And then last show of the month, we had a tag match. Don Harris and Eric Watts faced the Red Shirt Security.
Yeah. They also all came out and did a big schmuzz in the AMW Naturals match.
Oh yeah, and Watts restarted the match. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind these little tags though, because they're short normally, and there's just big dudes beating up little dudes.
Oh, you're a big fan of the Don Harris tag match, are you?
He was kind of good in it.
Wow.
Listen, I don't mean to step on your love of Don Harris, but he had a good match.
A never-ending reminder that before Liam spent like 14 episodes calling me a Nazi, the quote, the Harris Bros are pretty good if they weren't Nazis, came out of Liam Jones's mouth. And then he turned it around on me.
Yeah, because I don't like the fact that they're Nazis. Unlike you, who loves the fact that they're Nazis.
I hate you.
Like, that, for me, that's a negative, Garrett. I don't think you get the thing here. It's like, that's a positive for you, but a negative for me.
I hate you.
You tried to come at me, alright?
Yeah, this is podcast bullying. It's very upsetting. I'm glad you didn't get your pizza. I'm glad your pizza went cold on our last episode.
Oh, it was still good, so
I'm happy you choked on it.
Well, that one's fair.
I am happy that this podcast recording has gone long enough that you're getting less sleep before work.
Yeah, that is legitimately upsetting me.
Well, we're nearly done. So, after the match, the red shirts dropped Watts with a spike pile driver, but Don Harris made the save. As Goldie checked on Watts, she was very concerned.
Yeah. It's Goldie, man. This look. That's all I can think about.
Listen, you'll get more Goldie in the months to come.
Yeah, well, I hope this is the look that links her up with Alex Shelley. That makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, let's go very quickly, show by show, anything you have. NWA TNA Baby number 64, October 1st. My one note, there was a show opening little segment where Russo was talking to AJ, where the camera tried to interrupt him, and Russo turned to the camera and he was like, "We're talking here!"
Hey, I'm talking here. Yeah, I wanted to mention that room was a sex pervert room. Mm-hmm. Their locker room was like clad in red light for some reason.
Listen, that's just whether red light is apparently soothing, so AJ Styles is just trying to calm himself down before his big tag match.
The only point that I had over here was that Shark Boy still very over. Jeff Jarrett, you could tell he was having the time of his life cutting that promo with Dusty.
They were having a fun time. There was a disco interview with Mike Tenay where he had his entire crew.
I forgot about that, but I have his picture as my
Skype. Yeah, that's and your Twitter profile picture as well. Yes.
Yeah, I changed it to that because I had the GLEAT spoilers in it, and I was like, oh, Garrett might see him.
There was a line from Disco where he's like, "I want to protect Diamond the Swinger from what happened to Sex." It's like, what? So you want to protect him from Vince Russo? He took down Sex.
Of course, their stable name will be Condom.
Shut up.
Protect Sex.
I smacked it raw. I want more TNA.
Shut up.
And you were there, being like, it's a good t-shirt.
It is a good t-shirt. I would wear it daily. I'd wear it to work.
This interview with Gilberti ended with Gilberti being like, "You got any more stupid questions today?" And today just like dismissively, "That's it. That's a wrap." Yeah. He just deadpanned the camera.
That was a shoot. That was.
It's like, thank God this interview is over. NWA TNA favorite number 65, October 8th. You got anything?
I'm scrolling.
This is where TNA apologized for the HD audio ruining everything.
I just have the boys love to hit each other with chairs.
They do.
Every match on this show has outside interference, and not a damn thing is being done about
Eric Watts is slacking.
That was Jerry Lynn's promo. It's endlessly funny to see Punk as just a guy in TNA.
He's very much just a guy. This month in particular, there's more Punk stuff coming, but he's very much just a guy. He's not listening to Raven, you see.
I have a note that says Russo grew the hair out and brother got loose.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's all I have for that one.
NWA TNA paper number is 66, October 15th. There was the return of the Scott Hudson play-by-play while Raven was attacking James Mitchell.
Yeah. I don't love it, to be honest.
He's doing his play-by-play.
Only thing I made note of here was the quote was said 1,000 times, but I'll repeat it once more. I not only beat women, I beat legends. Kid Cash, 2003.
He's a very versatile man. Oh, Abyss in this match, he came out to Sabu's theme. I forgot about that.
And then he got his theme back by the end of the month.
He was like it wasn't even the full Sabu theme either. It was like the intro to Sabu's theme, so it was like the dur 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 dur. But without the no. And this is also where Vampiro had the very jazzy New Church remix, which is like do.
Mitchell was killing it on that track though.
He does not sing that song.
He definitely sings that song.
NWA TNA pay-per-view number 67, October 22nd, where the World Title Change chance is the show we did the watch-along for, which Liam found any excuse to talk about anything but TNA. So,
It was so boring.
even though you called this one of the good shows of the month.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. It was still.
So TNAChat.com or Patreon.com/kiddingme if you like the show. If you want to support the show more, you can go there and you get all this more content for $1, $5, or $10, depending on your preferred price tier. We'd appreciate your support. It'd be very nice. You can go hear our full thoughts.
Yeah, so I can buy a new mic.
Yeah, so Liam can stop giving out to me, and I can save like an hour editing this show every week.
Mm-hmm. So actually, buy me an air conditioner instead, so I can. So there won't be crickets.
Hey, the crickets are better than the mic problem.
Fair enough.
Jimmy Hart came out and said that Hulk Hogan is coming to TNA because he was very impressed by the young talent.
Yeah, they made me really excited for Hulk Hogan AJ Styles.
What young talent in TNA do you think Hulk Hogan likes?
Don Harris. You and Hogan, favorite wrestler.
Swiftly moving on. NWA TNA pay-per-view number 68, last show of the month, October 29th. Glenn Gilberti, we didn't mention, he's doing this new shtick where he has a tennis racket. He's doing a cornet shtick.
Yeah, he's going to fight Cornette, I hope.
Because he's not like, I'm not any old school wrestling manager, but then starts coming out with a tennis racket because that's the heat, I guess.
That's funny. Is he going to fight Cornette? Is that the gimmick here?
Oh, well, Cornette doesn't show up till 2006, so no.
I was going to say, it would make sense. They're all the New York guys. Fight Southern guys. It's fun. That's what TNA was founded on, baby. Yeah. Literally.
Tradition versus new school. What was it? What was the word?
No. What? Not what I meant at all.
But TNA was founded on the whole tradition versus...
I meant North versus South because I was doing a joke about the Jarretts and Russo and having their backstage heat. It was a very nuanced joke that you didn't get.
It went over my head. It's fine. You got anything else?
No.
Cool. So yeah, that's October 2003. A real dull, boring, just tired month where very little happens and it's all about Hulk Hogan and then Hulk Hogan doesn't show up.
10 hours of content.
Oh god, yeah. It's 5 shows, 10 hours of pay-per-view and not a single match above 3 stars except for one because it had a cool finish.
And no, that tag match was worth it. I'm going to give EY his flowers, unlike you, who hates him.
I'm a big EY fan. You leave me alone.
Apparently not.
So yeah, that's October 2003. We'll be back in 2 weeks for November 2003. We'll be back in 1 week, this weekend for the Patreon show covering Ring Cat King. So that's on patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com. As mentioned, the watch along for NWA TNA pay-per-view number 67 with the Jarrett and Styles World Title change is also on Patreon now for your listening pleasure. If you would like that, if you'd like to read along with the show notes, there's always a few notes we don't actually cover and stuff like that. So there's always a couple more details. Oh, we should mention the October 22nd show was dedicated to Road Warrior Hawk and Stu Hart, both of whom passed away that week. So all those notes and more in the show notes for you on the $1 tier on Patreon, patreon.com/kiddingme, tnachad.com. You can follow us on Twitter at TNA3Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Kidney. You can follow Liam on Twitter at The Gleet Muta. Liam desperately wants to go to bed because he has to work in the morning.
I have to get up soon.
Thanks for listening, and bye-bye.
Do the damn thing.
Destroy the opposition.